Good evening and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of Thursday, February 12th, 2026. At this time, I'm going to call upon everyone so we can stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you all remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our soldiers, past and present. Thank you. There are a couple of announcements that I'd like to make. First is that the next meeting that we have scheduled for the Zoning Board of Appeals will be February 26th, here in this building at 5 o'clock p.m. And that this meeting is being recorded by Dartmouth Community Media. Moving on to the public hearings portion of tonight's meeting. It's a continued case. It's use variance ZAV 25-13. It was continued from December 11, 2025. The petitioner is John Williams. The owner of the property is Margaret Tomkowicz, and the subject property is located at 576 Fons Corner Road. This is a case in which the petitioner is seeking a use variance. This case was already opened. We're not opening the case tonight. We have a problem. We don't have a quorum to hear this case. Dr. Agai has a conflict, and he's recused himself in taking any action on this case. I have also would have to recuse myself as a result of a conflict with the petitioner in this case. Given that we don't have Attorney Human here this evening, he was not able to attend and not be present at tonight's hearing, so we're not able to move forward. So we're going to have to continue that case, and if there's anyone in the audience that would like to have it known, it's going to be continued to February 26th at 5 o'clock p.m. here in this building. So, and that is variance case ZAV 25-13, and that's for 576 Fons Corner Road. Is there anything else you gentlemen would like to add?
No.
Nope.
All right. Moving on.
Hi, I just want to make sure that you're aware that for the next case, I'm here as an abutter, not
Okay.
as a member of the select
All
board.
right, we'll get that open and we'll go from there.
All right.
All right.
Would you like me to repeat it then?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Moving on to the next matter that's on for tonight's meeting is special permit ZSP 25-6. The petitioner is Jenny Reynolds. The owner is Tracy Noonan, manager of 8 Bono Court LLC. The subject property is located at 8 Bono Court, also known as map 121 lot 19. It's located within the general residence district. This matter was legally advertised on January 22nd and January 29th of this year.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of the abutters list.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Anyone in the audience or our viewers at home would like to see a list of the abutters that were notified, that's on file with our secretary here at the Office of the Zoning Board. In this case, the petitioner, Tracy Noonan, is seeking a special permit proposing to construct a 576 square foot addition to a non-conforming structure built in 1950, which is required to increase the nonconformity of the structure. The current structure meets one 10-foot required yard setback and the front yard setback of 20 feet. The addition is proposed to be built 11.9 feet from the street. Seeking relief under Article 10, Section 375-10.4 D3B setbacks and Section 375-6.2 B2 nonconforming structures. The property is located at 8 Bono Court in the General Residence District and identified as map 121, lot 19. And it says, information is on file in the Office of the Board of Appeals and may be seen upon request. All right, so we surely have some comments. I'm sure we have a denial letter from the building inspector that I have to locate here.
Attorney Maderas?
Yes.
I just want to make you aware, I'm Heidi Silva Brooks. I'm a member of the select board, but on this matter, I am here as an abutter.
Thank you very much. It's on the record. Now, we've got a lot of letters here. I'm trying to find the denial. Here it is here. This letter was dated December 5th, 2025. It was to Jenny Reynolds of Prime Engineering, and it's regarding 8 Bono Court. indicates that I have reviewed your application, and at this time, your proposal cannot be approved due to non-compliance with current zoning regulations. Applicant seeking to add a 576 square foot addition to a non-conforming structure built in 1950. The current structure meets one 10-foot required yard setback and front yard setback at 20 feet. The addition is proposed to be built 11.9 feet from the street. A special permit is required to increase the nonconformity of the structure. Your application is being denied under the following sections of Dartmouth zoning bylaw. 375-10.4D3B, subpart B says, in addition, the buildings or structures may be placed a minimum of 10 feet from all other perimeter lot lines or 20 feet from a street line if the lot upon which the building or structure is to be located was in existence prior to October 16, 1993. The benefit of this exemption is available to lots which already had buildings or structures located thereon prior to October 26, 1993. And also, 375-6.2B2, nonconforming structures, subpart 2 says, when the expansion or alteration of such a structure cannot conform with the development standards for structures in the zoning district in which the structure is located, the structure may be extended or altered only by special permit granted by the Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals shall not issue a special permit unless the board finds that the extension is not more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing nonconforming structure. And it indicates that the property is located within the general residence district, and it was from the building department, from a zoning enforcement officer, Mr. Randall Bissett. All right, that's that letter. Department comments within the town. The Board of Health. This facility is connected to town water and sewer. During building department process, the Board of Health will make further comment to the applicant or applicant's representative that relative to any remodel/demolition requirements. No further action by Board of Health. Concom. Plans were approved by the Conservation Commission on September 10, 2025. Notice of intent -25-30/Mass DEP 15-2797. And DPW indicates that compliance with the following DPW regulations, rules, and specifications will be required but not limited to the following: Department of Public Works construction specifications and standard details, their stormwater management, and policies of water division of the town water department would also be required. All right, we've got that. And I also have some letters. Now, historically, we have read letters into the record, but I've been finding that some of these letters can be quite extensive and very lengthy. And I find it problematic where people are trying to support or prove their case just by written letter. I will try to read some of this into the, I know that this letter is a well-written letter, and it reaches, and it does touch upon many of the points, but it's also quite lengthy. So I'll read this one, at least the opening of it, into the record, and it will be placed on file. We'll accept it and place it on file, gentlemen. Is that all right?
Yeah, make a motion that we accept the letters, all
right.
of them.
Okay, but let me just, we'll identify what they are, then we can do that collectively, okay? So this is a letter from Sean and Pamela Redfern, dated February 10, 2026. It's addressed to myself in my capacity as chairman of the zoning board. And it says, "Dear Mr. Maderis, Mr. Bissett, and members of the zoning board of appeals, we are abutters to 8 Bonneau Court and object to the special permit request being sought from the applicant to be non-compliant with the 20-foot front yard setback requirement in the town's zoning bylaws. 8 Bonneau Court is a single-family residence primarily used as a short-term rental property, and we feel that the proposed special permit to encroach upon the 20-foot setback would only benefit the property owner of 8 Bonneau Court while disproportionately having a negative impact on the surrounding residents and neighborhood. As the town of Dartmouth zoning bylaws indicate, the purpose of lot setback requirements is to lessen congestion and overcrowding of lots, to provide access within the lot for general circulation and maintenance of the buildings located thereon, to provide access in the case of fire, and to lessen congestion and promote safety in adjacent streets. There is no reasonable justification for compromising these safeguards for the neighborhood, and this is the second attempt by the applicant to seek the same setback reduction from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The first attempt through a variance request was denied." I'm not sure if that's accurate, but we'll see that, if there's anything on the record. The proposed building's encroachment into the 20-foot front yard setback will undoubtedly change the character of the neighborhood with the proposed building extending out past the other adjacent residences along the Barno Court right-of-way, blocking both light and air into the neighborhood. If approved, the proposed nonconformance would also create problematic sightlines for vehicular traffic and compromise pedestrian safety in the right-of-way. It will increase congestion and density on an already overcrowded site. Providing relief to the required 20-foot setback is contradictory to the intent of the town's zoning bylaws, and approval of special permit would unjustly prioritize one owner's wishes over the collective well-being of the immediate Barno Court community, who are seemingly unanimously opposed to the proposed addition. We dispute the applicant's indication in their narrative that the town's sewer easement poses a hardship on the property. Beyond the original property owner, who bore the burden of the eminent domain easement, one could argue that all other owners of the property have willfully entered into agreements to purchase the property without the burden of the town's sewer easement and its associated constraints on the property. As two architects registered in the state of Massachusetts with over 30 years of experience, we continue to find the information and detail provided by the applicant for the proposed addition to 8 Barno Court to be incomplete and contradictory. As professionals who regularly prepare, coordinate, and review these types of drawings and documents, we would like to point out to the town's reviewers that there are inconsistencies and missing information within the submitted application. Some of this was highlighted in our previous letter submitted at the Board of Appeals hearing on October 30th, 2025, in which the applicant sought a variance for the same proposed setback reduction. That variance request to reduce the 20-foot setback requirement was 11 feet 9 inches was denied. We are requesting the following inconsistencies and missing information be provided and clarified by the applicant before any further decisions by the zoning official or building official are made and any permitting on the process is granted. Furthermore, we believe that there are other zoning variances required by the applicant from the Town of Dartmouth zoning bylaws, but do not find them submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals or yet addressed. We seek guidance and clarification from the Town of Dartmouth on the following zoning items: floodplain overlay district and FEMA compliance. The proposed addition to 8 Barno Court represents a large addition. It is not inconsequential in size. The proposed two-story addition, 1,152 GSF, gross, square footage, will increase the existing building's overall square footage by 160% and will increase the building height by another story. The proposed size of the addition results in a substantial change to the building structure. We ask that the Dartmouth zoning official review this application in the eyes of town zoning bylaws. Article 27 floodplain overlay district for compliance. The project site is subject to storm flowage and coastal flooding. The town zoning bylaws require compliance with FEMA regulations. The applicant's request to build the addition at a flood elevation of plus or minus 12 feet is well below the required flood elevation of 19 feet at the lowest structural member. It is also unclear if the applicant has provided sufficient backup showing that the proposed construction cost of project does not exceed 50% of the cost of the assessed value of the existing building structure. We ask that the town seek the supporting cost backup from the applicant to demonstrate compliance. The requirement for the applicant to comply with FEMA guidelines is documented as part of the Order of Special Conditions issued by the Town of Conservation Commission for the project. Refer to Appendix 1 Conservation Commission minutes dated September 9, 2025. We would like to point out that the relevant FEMA technical bulletin requirements referenced by the project are incorrect. The project's architectural design and construction details should be updated to show project compliance with Technical Bulletin 2, flood-resistant materials, Technical Bulletin 5, free of obstruction, and Technical Bulletin 9, breakaway walls. Subpart 2, percentage of lot coverage on the site. The proposed addition and the proposed deck off the addition are increasing the nonconformity of the size lot coverage. The Town of Dartmouth zoning bylaws set lot coverage of impervious area on a site at no more than 50% of the lot and does not offer any exemptions for existing sites exceeding the coverage. A project that increases or expands an existing nonconformity is generally prohibited. We ask that the town provide guidance on this issue as it relates to Article 10, General Residence District Development Standards. The existing lot already far exceeds the maximum allowable percentage of lot coverage. I don't know why that wasn't addressed. I don't see what that was addressed, but we'll talk about that. Number 3, impervious area and stormwater management. The applicant's submission does not address the site's impervious area. The site currently consists of a variety of different pavement types and building structures, resulting in roughly 90% of the site surface area being impervious as defined by the town's zoning bylaws. The applicant's proposed building addition with its roof line is increasing the site's current stormwater flow volume as well as the impervious area of the site by an additional 112 square feet. The applicant's submission does not address how they intend to deal with stormwater drainage on their property as indicated by Chapter 313 Stormwater Management of the state's town bylaws, of the town's bylaws, and the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. We ask that the increase in the non-conforming impervious area and the storm drainage on the site be addressed by the applicant, and that information be provided to the town regarding how this deficiency will be addressed prior to any further approvals. The requirement for the applicant to contain stormwater runoff on their property is documented as part of the Order of Special Conditions issued by the Town of Dartmouth Conservation Commission for the project. Refer to the Dartmouth Conservation Commission minutes dated September 9, 2025. Page 10, condition 21. Applicable codes. They give us a list of all the applicable codes, which I'm not going to read into the record. Then they indicate further missing information in the drawings submitted for permit. In our review of the civil drawings issued for permit, accurate documentation of the existing conditions is missing from the applicant's drawings. These elements are critical to the design and relevant to the decision that the town is basing their review and approvals on. Missing from the drawings are 2 manhole covers that represent what we believe to be abandoned cesspool or septic pits adjacent to the existing house, in the exact area where the applicant has proposed building their addition. We ask that the town have the applicant accurately document and evaluate these existing conditions on their site plan drawings and indicate to the town how this existing condition will affect the construction of the proposed addition and its foundation systems. The applicant's exterior architectural elevations and roof plan show a large deck extension on the water side of the house, but the deck is not shown on the applicant's civil site plan, floor plans, or foundation plans. The deck was not included in the site documentation submitted to the Conservation Commission as part of their review, and it should therefore be subject to further review and approval by the Conservation Commission. The deck also further increases the nonconformity of the site, lot coverage, which is not allowable per the town's zoning bylaws. Inconsistency in drawings is submitted for permit. We ask that the town of Dartmouth seek clarification from the applicant on why we identify as on what we identify as inconsistent designs being evaluated by the town. The drawings submitted for a building permit are inconsistent with the information included in the applicant's submission and testimony at the Conservation Commission September 9th hearing. Because of these differences, we ask the town of Dartmouth reevaluate the project approvals given to date. Item 1, the order of special conditions issued by the Town of Dartmouth Conservation Commission, Special Condition SC number 4, indicates the proposed addition shall be pile supported. The drawings subsequently submitted for a building permit indicate a CMU pier foundation system with footings. These are vastly different foundation systems. The applicant's submission for permit does not show the proposed layout or depth of a driven pile foundation system, nor does it identify the potential impacts of vibration, soil movement, and soil sediment from a driven pile system on the existing building foundation system to remain. Because a driven pile foundation system presents complications with the existing building foundation system, we ask that the town have the applicant provide a detailed foundation design with calculations by a qualified structural engineer so it can be properly assessed by the town's reviewers for permit. The applicant's submission for permit does not show the relationship between the existing to remain building foundation to the proposed driven pile foundation system. It provides no assessment of the driven pile system in regard to the radial displacement or vertical heaving in that will be imposed on the site soils and its effect on the existing adjacent traditional foundation system. The applicant's submission does not consider the potential for differential settlement between the two different foundation systems. All right. Then number 2, there are no framing plans provided in the applicant's submission for permit, but the applicant's submitted drawings indicate that the new addition is going to be built on top of the existing building's exterior wall and foundation. Because of this, the existing wall must comply with the building code for new construction. There is no evaluation presented by a qualified professional to ensure that the existing wall and the foundation are capable of handling the increased weight. All right, moving on. Proposed construction effects on the public sewer easement. In the applicant's letter to the Conservation Commission and their testimony to the Commission, the petitioner indicated that a foundation system of driven piles would be used to support the building addition. Their testimony indicated that the use of piles would create minimal land disturbance. However, the applicant has not accounted for the clay soils prevalent on the site. In clay-driven soil can move laterally over large distances. The soil displacement has the potential to compress, crush, or sift the nearby public sewer line located in the sewer easement adjacent to the applicant's proposed addition. The clay soil becomes a key factor in defining the number of driven piles feasible at the site, as well as defining the depth of the piles to carry the substantial load of the proposed addition. The potential impact on the public sewer needs to be understood by the town's reviewers with respect to the existing soil conditions. We ask that the applicant provide additional information to the town regarding the potential impacts of the vibration, radial soil movement, and soil settlement that the driven pile foundation system will impose on the public sewer, so that the impact can be understood and evaluated by the town. As abutters, we are directly concerned with any impacts from the proposed driven pile foundation work. In conclusion, there has been no attempt by the applicant for 8 Bonneau Court to reach out and address neighbors' concerns throughout the course of their submission and review process for this project. This includes the time frame from when the first presentation was provided to the Conservation Commission on September 9th, to the first Zoning Board of Appeals held on October 30th, and to today, February 10th, 2026. Considering the mistakes and deficiencies identified in the submitted project documents, we ask that the town have the applicant correct and resubmit the design documents, adding sufficient clarity and detail to show the full picture of the project to the town's reviewers before any further advancement to this project. We ask that the Zoning Board of Appeals deny the special permit for a reduction in the building setback requirements. Not only would it increase nonconformity of the lot, but it goes against the very purpose of the setback requirements of the zoning bylaw section to lessen congestion and overcrowding of lots and reinforce safety controls within the neighborhood. Signed by Sean Redfern and Pamela Redfern. All right.
Previous case was denied without prejudice.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to clarify was that the case was previously denied, but it was denied without prejudice. And that's how the petitioner was able to come back here before us
And
today.
it was a special permit, Mr. Chair, or?
I don't know if it was a special permit, if it was a variance.
It was a
It was a
variance?
variance, and they're not
Okay.
coming before us for a variance at this
They're
point.
coming for, okay.
They're coming for a special permit. Okay. Now, we also have a couple of other letters here. We have, and I've read these, and you gentlemen have had an opportunity to read these. And I'm gonna refer to them, and we'll have them just placed into, I'll refer to them, and then we'll just collectively have them admitted into the record, okay? One is a letter of Jane Shapira, dated February 5th of 2026. I also have an email from a DK Smith, dksmith23@charter.net is an email from them. I believe it's David and Kerry Smith. I also got a letter, we received a letter from Benjamin Sperry. We also have a letter from Carla Manchester, and I didn't give the addresses, so I should probably state the addresses of these people. Jane Shapiro is at 6 Bonneau Court in South Dartmouth. I have David and Kerry Smith, I've got 9 Bonneau, no, it says, is it 9 Bonneau?
Yes, yes.
Then 9 Bonneau. Then I have Benjamin Sperry of 22 Clarence Street.
And he has property,
Excuse me?
and he has property on 10 Bonneau.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, no,
All right, because it's regarding 8.
no, he owns 10.
He owns, he's at
Also
20.
owns 10.
Oh, okay, so they own 22 Clarence, and they also own 10 Bonneau Court, and that's Clarence Street. We also have a letter from Carla Manchester of 21 Clarence Street. And I also have a letter from Keith Manchester at 21 Clarence Street. Excuse me. We also have a letter here from Bruce Brooks. I don't know where that person's from. Owner of 3 Bonneau Court. And we also have a letter from David and Kerry Smith dated February 2nd, 2026.
9 Bonneau.
And that's from 9 Bonneau Court. So I'll entertain a motion, gentlemen. Hold on one second. Is that all of them?
That's it.
That's all of them. I'll entertain a motion.
Place the letters on file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. They're placed on file. Goes there. All right. Is there anything else that we have to read into the record at this point, Michelle? I don't think there is there? We've got the narrative that we received from the petitioner, but they're here to plead their case. All right, so at this point in time, I will call upon the petitioner or their representative to plead their case. Thanks.
I don't know if that's on. I don't know if that's.
Does the placement of that work for the people from community, Dartmouth Community TV, so they could, yeah, I think they got it.
Surprise me?
Okay, my name is Rich Rayon. I'm Chief Engineer and Principal of Prime Engineering, and we prepared the plans and the petition. I've shown on here the existing structure and the lot in the areas that are paved. As you can see, the majority of the lot is paved. It's about 90% impervious cover. And we're not proposing to change the impervious cover, and we're proposing to comply with all of the FEMA regulations, provide proper geotechnical information at the proper time. Obviously, we wouldn't spend the effort at this stage. If this petition gets denied, then we're not going forward, so we're not going to spend the money. But essentially, we submitted an application to the building department to find out whether this met zoning standards. And he found that it did not meet zoning standards from the standpoint of front yard setback to the street. 20 foot is required, and we have 11 feet 9 inches. So we're short by 8 feet. On this exhibit, I'm showing where Barnell Court ends, and it ends before the proposed addition is. So basically, we're talking about the setback to a landscaped area. It's a grass area that is a paper street, still Barnell Court, but it's not ever going to get built. So the setback is comparable to the setback of the other units in the area. I basically did an assessment of Cottage Street, Wilson Street, between Cottage and Howland, Clarence Street, and Barnell Court. And the average front yard setback of those 50 homes is 12 feet. And what we're proposing is essentially 12 feet. So we're complying with the norm of the area. We meet all of the other zoning standards. And the statute basically says that the uses have to be shown to be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. And this is a general residence district, and the standards are, A, preserve the rural character of the town by maintaining moderate population density. And the lot size is comparable to other lots. The building proposed size is comparable to the others in the area. B is to minimize congestion on town roads. And if you've traveled Cottage Street, Clarence Street, Howland, they're very lightly traveled. They're not anywhere near capacity. They're level of service A, and with the addition of two-bedroom home, it'll still be level A. C is to provide uses compatible with on-site sewer and water capabilities. And there's a giant sewer main that runs right through the property. And the water is adequate, high pressure, high flow, so that's not a problem. Minimize the impact on development of natural resources. We appeared before the Conservation Commission. They reviewed all aspects of the design and said, yes, it complies, and issued an order of conditions. And E is to allow the use of the property without creating a nuisance to abutting properties. And as I said, the setback, side yard, front yard, rear yard setback is comparable to the units on Howland Avenue, on Cottage Street, on Clarence Street, on Wilson Street. It meets very much in harmony with the neighborhood. And the only question is it good to allow a 12-foot setback when the standard in the neighborhood is 12 foot? I can show. You can see it's about quite a larger footprint than the other one, than what's existing. So we currently have 20 square feet of building on a lot that's slightly under 5,000 square feet, and we're proposing to put a 24 by 24 addition on the property. The addition itself is going to be two-story. It's going to be on piers, so it complies as much as possible with the FEMA flood regulations. And we have done considerable number of projects in the floodplain, and this will meet the FEMA regulations. The other exhibit I've shown in pink on here, in the 1960s, when the town came through with the sewer easement, they basically came through and did an L around this lot so that it makes expansion to the east impossible. It's only 6 feet from the property line to where Ellen and Bill Dingwell are, so you can't expand that way. And you're right on the water, so you can't expand this way. So this is the only way that an expansion can take place. And if you only expanded with a 20-foot setback, you'd end up with a 9-foot by 9-foot bedroom, which is ludicrous. So we're going for the special permit, which we don't think is any, it is completely in harmony with the neighborhood. I've got the architectural elevations if you want to look at it, but it's,
Yeah, if I could see those, please.
this is the elevation that would be seen by people up gradient, in other words, landward of the project. And this is the elevation view that would be seen by people that are out on a Pontiac Bay. Two-story on the right side, just one story matching the existing facility. And non-habitable space underneath, that basically can only be storage. And the end view here this view is what Ellen and Bill Dingwell would see from their house, which is the existing and the distant second-story structure with the balcony extending towards the water.
What about the deck? You don't show the deck on the site plan.
Right, we emphasize the fact that the existing area underneath that deck is concrete pad. If we just showed the balcony, you wouldn't get the effect of the fact that we already have that as impervious area. But it's not relevant to the case because the only issue is would a front yard setback to that lawn area be appropriate at 11.9 versus the typically required 20 feet?
But we count people's decks as, in making the determination for a front yard setback. It's part of
the
the
deck
struc-
doesn't-
It's part of the structure.
Oh, yeah. The deck does not extend towards the street, it extends to the water. So
Still,
there's no extension towards the street. There's no balcony.
okay, I understand that. I understand where it goes to, but I said front yard setback, but it's a setback point to the water. You have it listed right now at 11 feet, right? 11.9?
11.9.
11.9, but it's not really 11.9 when you add the deck to it. How many feet will it be when you add the deck?
Takes 8 feet. 8.
I'm just asking you to tell me what it is. How many feet would it be?
This is 11.9 from the face of the building that has no balcony to the property line, because this is the paper street.
Okay.
This is the existing balcony that's just going to be extended. So in Dartmouth, you're allowed to extend a non-compliance side yard at the same
Or less.
until you see another setback requirement. So that's,
I understand what you're allowed to do, I just don't see it on the plan. I'd like to see it on the plan, to be honest with you, but that's okay. That's just an issue that I'm having with it, so I know exactly where things are gonna be. All right.
okay. But you understand that the.
Well, I wasn't certain exactly where the front yard was, but, so your front yard measurement at this point goes to this Bono Court, which is the private way, and that's the 11.9 feet that you're measuring here. Okay, I'm seeing that. All right.
And it's a grass, there we go.
And what you're telling me, excuse me, sir? Sir? We can't have conversations, we're being recorded. Okay, thank you. So, I just have concern that it's not on the plan, so I don't know exactly where it's gonna be placed in relation to the side lot line that's adjacent to Apponeontset Bay. But that's just one point that I have, that's all. Is that it, Mr. Riom? All right. So, does anyone have any questions of Mr. Riom at this time?
I don't have any at this time right now.
I do have a few questions, but it's more technical because what I heard from the opponents. So normally, when you do your lot coverage, you would provide the data for the existing conditions, and, you break down all the lot coverage on the site, concrete, impervious deck and all that, and then, you do your analysis, existing versus proposed. But you're saying that currently the lot coverage is around 90%, so you're covering the building will occupy an existing area that is impervious currently?
Exactly.
Is it, what's the, I didn't see, is that the what's impervious? Is it paved, or is it the crushed?
It's crushed shell on top of pavement.
Okay,
And same thing here, this, I showed it as gray because it's pavement.
Okay.
But they've put shells. So the only green area is this thin green band to the east.
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm.
You don't have it, even in the legend that you have here, you don't indicate exactly what the existing lot coverage percentage is right now. You just indicate that the max lot coverage is 50% and you're proposing 90%. Doesn't say what the existing is.
But the existing is 90%, so it's not changing.
How do you know the existing is 90%? Because this says proposed 90%.
it's the existing 90% too, right? Is that what you said? So
Existing
it's
is
not
90%, and the proposed addition is over.
Over
existing
impervious areas, that's why. And,
pavement. Now it's going to be paved later.
okay, but
There's no-
normally, yeah, you,
Zero increase in impervious area.
And that's probably why the building inspector didn't require that to be
right.
an
to
additional.
the-
an
right. I
additional
just wanted to
area
confirm
relief.
because that's brought up.
Okay.
The second question, the new addition is going to be on piers, so you have, it's open bottom, right? So you're not impeding on the
It'll be breakaway walls.
breakaway, oh, you do have breakaway wall, so it's not a block wall.
The velocity zone. so-
Block wall is not a breakaway wall, right?
Oh, no, the existing, I think the existing structure is blocked.
Okay,
but
because I heard that it's a block and, yeah, so you're not affecting the
We would not be able to put. a
the
block.
flood capacity or anything,
That's be
okay.
breakaway.
Right, that's fine. And the finished floor elevation, that's my question. I think you said 12 feet?
Yes.
What's your 100-year flood? Is that the 100?
It's, I think 17, but you have to be 2 foot above that because it's velocity zone.
Right.
So the bottom of your structural member has to be 19, which would make the finished floor 20. So
Right.
you'd have to be 16 feet above the existing ground, and they don't want to be 16 feet above the existing ground. So as long as you only add 50% the value of the structure.
Okay,
You're
I-
allowed to continue that.
But how did you come up, did you demonstrate to the I mean, you would have to file, those will have to be details on your building permit application, but
absolutely.
I'm not sure how you get 50% of the value by adding, almost doubling the space of the existing structure. With today's market, I mean, it's probably $400 or $500 square foot, something, I don't know, maybe less than that, right?
I got that fact from the architect. The architect said that they would be able to justify that it would not be a 50% increase in the value of the structure.
Okay, so if this is the case, they don't have to comply with the elevation of the building, okay.
But how do they arrive at 12
I-
feet? How do they make a determination that 12 feet would be adequate?
We have to, in our full application to the building department.
They have to submit
That has to be
invoices.
submitted to them to show that it's not more than 50%. If
Well, I
we-
get that part of it, but then at this point, you're saying, well, we're not more than 50, so we're going to build it at 12 feet and not the required 19. How does that determination come into be?
The building inspector is going to make that final determination. If he says that, no, you need to make it in phases, then this would have to be built in 2 separate phases.
Phases is one thing, but we're also concerned about height requirements. We have a height requirement here of 35 feet
They meet the height requirements.
at 12 feet, but do they meet it at
No,
19?
not if they go to 17.
Okay. Are you, assuming that you had to build it at 19 feet, would you be able to meet the 35-foot height requirement?
No, it's 8,
With 2-story,
I don't think so.
unless you have a flat roof.
Okay.
I think I'd be able to meet the second.
But
Anyway, so, thank you. Doc, did you have any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to open it up to the public, so that if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this project, I ask you to come up, state your name, your address, as loud as you can, just so that we can have it for the record, and then explain to us what your concerns are. Excuse me? This is 8 Barno Court. Thank you.
Bruce Brooks, owner of 3 Bunnell Court. Quite a few misstatements were made there. When he talked about all the setbacks of all the neighboring, he mentioned every street except for really Bunnell Court. I took measurements of all the properties on Bunnell Court. The very closest was 14 feet, and the next, I think, was 25, and I think it's actually in my letter. There's some ones actually 42 feet. So to state that 11 feet is conforming with all the average. Bunnell Court is a private lane. The other ones are streets, certified streets. So that is a whole different ballgame of setbacks, and to state that is such a misdemeanor. Height, if he goes over 50% of the value of the house, not the land or anything else like that, and the house is valued at I think it was $192,000. So that would be $96,000 that this project would be able to be done for.
Well, I don't know if they use assessed values for that, sir.
Yeah, yes, they do.
Sir.
I'm a contractor, licensed contractor, and I know I have to abide by those, okay?
Then
The-
if that's accurate, then this project's never gonna get off the ground.
I don't, well, like he said, if he tried
That's
to do it.
accurate, no, just seriously, if that's accurate, then I don't see this project ever getting off the ground.
The only way he would get away with it is by doing it in a portions. But either way, I can't see how he can do the foundation, the site work, and put a first floor on even, just a single floor for the value of $96,000. If he's got a contractor that he has to do that, I want him to, so I can make some money off of him.
Me too.
There's no reason, you've got 11.9 feet left over off the house itself. Why 24 feet? Why isn't it mentioned that you're not going up on a second floor on the existing building instead of bringing it out and adding it onto that? And also, in the building codes and the state law, if it is a substantial improvement, then it has to go up to the 19 feet. A substantial improvement. And they're putting on more square footage than the existing house. So it has to be considered a substantial improvement. And I'm sure there's other things I might think of, but right now.
That's fine, I'll give you another opportunity. If it's something different,
But
that's fine.
that's just the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else would like to speak either in favor or in opposition?
Opposition. My name is Keith Manchester, 21 Clarence Street. And I don't know if anyone's visited the site or not, but I just want to give you a quick picture. It's just one little laneway that allows one car to go one way at one time. And it's all private area, like Bruce said. And I'm just going to try to make this really quick. As far as the setbacks on 375, the lessened congestion, overcrowding, and promote safety doesn't conform, in my opinion. Minimum setback requirement, the 20 feet, that's what we're here for. It says from a street or an easement, and there's nothing in there that says because it's a grassy area. An easement has property lines, and it says in 375 from a street or easement. I want to make that clear. And residential district, to preserve a rural character of the neighborhood and to maintain low population density. Just by putting that addition on, that extra 10 feet would devastate the abutters, because everybody has, in that little area that's private, everybody has their yard, everybody can see the resources, sunsets, everything else, but this would absolutely devastate their sight of view and their livelihood. So that's that one. And the minimized development and the rule, I just did that, 11 feet from the high, it's 11 feet from the high water mark. And if you look at that, I think I sent you some pictures as far as the seawall, completely demolished. It's all rotted. Concrete underneath where they want to put the porch is just slabs, like 3-inch slabs, 2-inch slabs. That wouldn't do it. So 3 out of the 6 requirements are not met, as far, in my opinion. And I just want to let you know that that a variance to me is to override rules and regulations that the town has in place to protect the neighborhoods. And 101, as far as I'm concerned, it should be sparingly used variances. So, and there are other options for this applicant to build. They don't need that land to build. There are other options, so it's not like a hardship. There are other choices to meet their requirements of what they want. And thank you.
All right, I just want to clarify a couple of points. So, and I know that you've stated the word variance here, and a variance is a much more difficult type of relief to obtain as a petitioner, and that requires a showing of a hardship. Here, this is not they're not requesting a variance. They're only requesting a special permit.
Isn't it the same thing?
No, it's not the same thing. And it's a much lower level or a much lower standard of review from us, from our standpoint, to either grant or deny a special permit.
Can I ask you, what are the setbacks for a special permit?
There's not necessarily a specific setback with a special permit. A special permit is a type of relief that you're seeking. And here, because of the fact that this structure was already in existence prior to the implementation of zoning, it was in existence in 1950, it was created, and it's non-conforming, meaning it doesn't meet, the existing structure doesn't meet our requirements of zoning, they can expand on it and seek a permit to expand on it only by filing a special permit. And the threshold for a special permit is much lower than it is to prove the requirements of a variance. So for that reason, I just want to make sure that everyone in the audience understands what we're dealing with as a board, what the requirements are of us, and what the level and the burden of proof that the petitioner has to present to us. And all they have to show is that it's not any more detrimental to the neighborhood than what the current existing conditions are. And you've touched upon that, you have, but it's just that the word hardship is really not applicable in this context, given the analysis that we have to apply to it under our own zoning bylaws, okay?
Yeah,
So I wanted that to be clear for everyone.
yeah, well, all right, well,
But I understand the gist of
Yeah.
your argument
Yeah.
is that there's gonna be an impact, and you think that is a substantial detriment to yourself and to also other abutters of the property.
and in this day and age, you couldn't do that if you're gonna build a new home, right? Correct?
No, if you weren't gonna, if you're gonna build a new home on a new lot, you
All
could
right.
not do that,
Well,
no.
my
But these
opinion
are
is-
exceptions that are created within, we didn't create these exceptions.
I understand that.
All right.
I understand your position.
All right.
But try to understand ours, two wrongs don't make a right. Okay? So that's all.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to me.
No, we did read your letter, and we did admit it into the record, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak either in favor or in opposition to this request?
I just have a couple of questions. Frank Silva, 3 Barno Court. Mr. Rayones mentioned Barno Court not going by the property. Barno Court goes to the water. Our top stops at their driveway, because we paid for that years ago. And the other thing I question is about a shed or something that's under the porch facing the water. Can you explain that?
No, you have to direct the questions to me, and then I can bring him up to ask them.
all right.
So you're asking about a shed, is that what you said?
Shed on the drawing under the porch towards the water. That is not there now. And another thing, in my youth, when I used to drive piles, there was a lot of vibration. And it's gonna take some good equipment to go down that lane. And it's gonna bust up even worse than it is.
Okay.
Every time they build something down there, the trucks drive over my slate walkway and in the yard, and somebody's got to come fix it.
Well, that's something that would have to be addressed, for sure. But that's not necessarily directly within our purview. Those are things that you could address with the building inspector. But I'm not sure about the shed. We will ask Mr. Riom, and I'm sure he'll provide some clarification from that for us, okay?
Okay,
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this request?
Very quickly, Heidi Brooks, owner of 3 Bono Court. I just wanted to state that on the drawings, it shows, he continues to refer it as a 2-story addition, but that addition is built above, on pylons, above what is currently the garage. So in essence, it'll be a 3-story structure. Bono Court is primarily made up of what was once summer cottages, and they have been renovated over the years and winterized over the years. But most notably, directly next to 8 Bono Court are 2 very much little summer cottages. Also, Mr. Rayum said that the use of property by not creating a nuisance to the abutters. Couple of things there. The construction is a nuisance to the abutters. As we said, it's only a single. Basically, the lane is a driveway that is no bigger than a driveway, and any damage to it is paid for by the residents of the lane. The last owner of the property that did a significant upgrade to the property and made it what it is today, did not offer to pay for any of the damage that was done to the lane at that time. It had been a 2-bedroom cottage. He turned it into a 1-bedroom cottage. Since 1950, up until the purchase by Tracy Noonan, it had been used as a residence, a family residence with the 2 bedrooms, and only towards the very end did it become long-term rental, where we would have renters there for years at a time. Once it was purchased by the person that did the initial renovation, it became a short-term rental. And Tracy Noonan has used it as a short-term rental. And as far as nuisance to property owners, and this has been told to Tracy Noonan, sometimes her renters are problem renters. They're on the dock, which her property does not have any deeded rights to, but they're on the dock, children without life jackets, causing a concern for the residents who are watching this. So my concern is going from this 1-bedroom cottage to a 2 or 3 is certainly going to make it more marketable for her. But it's not going to be great for the neighbors. Currently, it's offered on VBRO and on Airbnb. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this request?
He already.
Sean Redfern. I live at 5 Bono Court. I'm against it. Thank you for acknowledging my letter and reading it. There were a couple things that the applicant had stated in his presentation here that I wanted to get some clarification on. You had indicated that the current drawings do meet FEMA regulations, which they do not. And then you had indicated that water runoff is not going to be impactful, but what happens, water runoff is really looked at as in terms of surface area. So all the additional surface areas you're creating on the site are actually adding to the water runoff on the site. So all of those areas need to be part of your calculations. And then the drawings that are on file with the building department, they do indicate CMU at the base of the building, which he said was not actually happening at the base of the building.
Excuse me, can you say that again? I missed that.
The drawings that are on file.
Yeah, what about the drawings?
Building department,
Yeah, what about them?
they indicate CMU at the base of the building. So as an architect, this indicates CMU. And this is a hatch that you would use as CMU.
And what does that refer to specifically?
So this is the whole base of the building that they're showing, where he had indicated were breakaway walls.
It's a block.
Okay, so the existing is not breakaway, we get that, right? And there's going to be a portion in which this new structure will sit upon, possibly a portion of it, on the existing block walls, correct?
This is the existing building right here. This is their proposed addition here. So all of this here that he's showing is CMU.
Okay.
It is actually not. It should.
So that's not how it's on the design plan, that's what you're saying? Okay,
Exactly.
fair enough. Okay, great, thank you. Thank you for showing me that.
And so we seek clarification on this and still don't recommend that you approve the special
Where do you live
permit.
specifically, sir?
I live
Again?
at 5 Bono Court. I overlook the property.
When you say you overlook it from, so are you, so the east part of this, so you're easterly of the property, correct?
Yep, I am right here. This is me right
Okay, so you're east of it. All right, I thought you were here, but you're here. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this project?
Good evening, Pam Redfern. I live at 5 Bono Court, and I'm opposed to the project as well. I just, in addition to what you had heard this evening, just wanted to point out the applicant talking about the 12-foot elevation versus the 19-foot elevation. If it were to raise 7 feet up to meet the FEMA requirements at 19 feet to the underside of the floor structure, that would mean it actually would be more like 20 feet up to the floor elevation. You're talking about a difference of about 20 minus 12, 8 feet up. To get 8 feet up takes horizontal distance as well. So that's additional surface area that's unaccounted for. In addition to that, the deck that's being proposed, the current deck is, meets the grade by actually coming down to what is the street side. So if the deck continues across, there would definitely be additional intrusion into that, what he is proposing at 11'9". That would be encroached even further. So I would look very carefully at how, if there is a deck included, have that included as part of the application and understand how that actually meets grade and the street frontage setback.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this project?
Enid Silva, 3 Bottom Court.
What number?
3.
3 Bonnet Court, okay.
We have been residents at 3 Bottom Court since the early 60s. We have seen lots be improved, homes been improved, and we have noticed through the years that they're residents only, not absentee landlords. We are now going into a different phase on Bonneau Court. We have had experiences already with the new owners of 9 Bonneau Court, 8 Bonneau Court. They didn't have the same numbers when I started. We have seen what's been going on with having short-term rentals. Maybe some were longer than short, but nevertheless, they are not owner-occupied. When a property is not owner-occupied, the neighborhood's going to suffer. I, being 85 years old, might be almost the oldest person on the lane. We need access on our 10-foot right-of-way for an ambulance, a fire engine, or a police car. It's not easy to use 10 feet for those entities that have to come in to help us out in an emergency. If this construction takes place, they're not going to bring in the materials through the water. They're going to try to bring them down through a 10-foot right-of-way. I can't give you all that information that architects can give you. I can't give you all the numbers and all the variances that your board has to look through. But I can tell you from experience, this will be a hardship on the existing neighbors and neighborhood, to which this person has never occupied the home long enough to find out what that is. I hope that you can use sensibility as well as rules and regulations to make our neighborhood stay as it is. It's not a public street like Clarence, Howland Avenue. It is not a dead-end street like Howland Avenue or Cottage Street. It is a private 10-foot lane giving access to maybe 8 summer cottages that have become full-time residents. And I would appreciate you taking that into consideration, and hopefully we can read between the lines.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak either in favor or in opposition to this request?
Hi, I'm Michelle Sperry. I oppose. My husband and I own 2 properties. We own 10 Bonneau and 22 Clarence. And I'm just kind of curious, what happened with the variance? They've all decided not to go for that. We all showed up for that. They were not here. Now they're trying to do a special permit.
I don't recall specifically what relief they were seeking under the variance, but whatever it was that we're seeking, the building inspector at this point felt that based on what the proposal as it was, because I didn't really review the other proposal, and if I did, I don't recall, truly. I do know that the building inspector, based on his interpretation of our town bylaws, and based on the petition that's before him and the application, he denied it and said that if they wanted to pursue it, that they needed to seek relief before us for a special permit. No variance required, just a special permit. I don't know if there's any significant changes from what was initially proposed. I didn't compare one to the other. quite frankly, it's not even relevant because it was an application that was denied. And we historically have always denied it. Actually, we didn't usually, that, I think was one of the first ones in which we've denied it because someone didn't appear. We would always give them the courtesy of another date, but that one, I think there was some influence that was had by people in the audience, and we all voted to just deny it without prejudice. And I wasn't surprised that they're gonna be here again at some point, but they're here tonight. They've presented their case. I've got some questions to ask them. That's something, I don't see the real relevance as to what they were seeking before. All I know is what's here now, quite frankly, it does require relief. And it's probably the lowest threshold of relief that they can seek before our board. It doesn't have a very high standard. But I do have concerns. I certainly have concerns with the amount of improvement that they're trying to make to this property. This is a very small lot. And there's no there's nothing on this plan that tells me the exact square footage of the existing structure. And if there is, it's not on the layout here. It doesn't tell me what the square footage is. Then it doesn't, I don't know the exact square footage of the two-story building. Yeah, I don't have the square footage, but there's a significant amount. I see it as a lot of improvement for a very small lot.
Yeah, it's a 3-story.
Well, it's gonna be a 3-story because of the fact that they have to put it on
They're
stilts.
not just doubling the size,
It's 2 stories of living space. You don't count the portion of it that just has the stilts. Let's just call it the pylons. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this project?
Hi, I'm Jane Shapira, and I live directly next door at 6 Bono Court. And I've lived there more than 45 years. I can confirm everything my neighbors have said. You can't imagine how tight it is there. We couldn't even really have the snow plowed appropriately with this last snowstorm because it's so narrow. All of us live at the beginning. It goes down, and the home in
Excuse me
question,
one
the
second.
house
Just one
in
second, ma'am.
question.
Excuse me, 1 second. Could you kindly close that door for me, please? Thank you, sir. I couldn't hear you, ma'am. There's a lot of background noise.
The house in question, 8, is at the very end. As Mrs. Silva said, previously, when there were people changing the house, doing construction on it, it was nearly impossible for us to get into our houses. And now we're all that much older. We're about 5, 6 years older, and some of us are really sick, and we might need an ambulance or occupational therapy or a visiting nurse, and I don't know how it's going to be possible because there's really no turnaround. And if this house is changed, they're advocating, there will be no place to turn around. So I don't know how it's going to be workable. Furthermore, I hope to impress upon you the fact that this house, since it was purchased by the owner, has mainly, after about 2 months of her living there, has been used only for Airbnb. I looked up the advertisements, and if you put on that, it's billed as Mermaid's Lair. And if you look on Mermaid's Lair, you find 7 or 8 sites, international sites, national sites. We've had a wedding there. It's going to be a venue. And so our little neighborhood will just be the area preceding the venue. And that's not a home for any of us.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in
Yeah, Bruce
opposition?
Brooks, 3 Bunnell Court. Just wanted to, I just pulled out the building permit. The proposed square footage is 1,152 square feet. The total existing is 780. So when you're talking about substantial,
Yep.
just that alone.
I have concerns about that.
Just wanted to clarify that, so that way you know, you would ask for that.
Oh, thank you.
If I may, Pamela Choi Redfern again, 5 Bono Court. I think a lot of the things you've heard, clearly logistics of the construction are a concern. I think to the heart of it, though, the permanent change of a reduction in sightline for safety, that really is at the core of my concern. There's pedestrian walking right up until, that setback. So if you were to shorten that, that would just permanently, I think, create an unsafe condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right. Mr. Rio, I got a question for you. It was raised by someone, something about a shed being on the property. Something that's there, that was there, and it's no longer there, or?
We've done our survey just in the past year, so I don't know about a shed that existed before and now it's not there.
So to
I
your
don't see
knowledge,
how it would
since
be
you
relevant.
started on this project, there was not a shed on the land?
When we surveyed it, there was not a shed, no.
Okay. Gentlemen, are there any comments that you gentlemen would like to make, or any questions that you have of Mr. Riom?
I don't have any.
So, Mr. Riom, I have some concerns truly about this, the size of this project, given the size of the land that it's to be placed upon. I think it's substantial is an understatement for what it is. When you look at the lot, is a lot a little over 4,000 square feet? Is that what it is?
It's just under 5,000 square feet.
Just under 5,000. So it's just under 5,000 square feet, and you got 90% of it impervious surface already. And it's unique in that, it's a roadway that's a private roadway that's super narrow, that serves a lot of homes. It's almost a community within a community, from what I can gather. I have difficulty with it, and I know the standard is pretty low for this. But I personally have difficulty with something of this size on a lot that's this small, that's served by a roadway that's this narrow and it's this unique. But I don't like to make decisions until I have all the facts, and I can only speak for myself. There are 2 other members of this board, and obviously they have as much input as I do. But I would like to take a drive by and take a look at this myself. I almost want to ask you to plot out the 24 by 24 on stakes, so that I could go there and get an assessment as to how big this is going to be in relation to the property line and in relation to the roadway, in relation to the use or the historical use of this roadway for the people that are abutters on this roadway. But I'm not saying that that's going to change my mind one way or the other. I'm just saying that before I would have a definitive decision on this, I would like to go by and look at it. Now, I know that we are in the winter months, and we have an extraordinary amount of snow that we don't usually have as persistent as we've had this year. So,
We would be able to stake it out because it would be coming off of the existing structure.
okay. So if you could do that.
We could get it staked out by the end of next week.
Okay. Now, the problem is I have, the next date that we have is February 26th. On February 26th, we already have 3 cases on that day. It's already a heavy day. When's our next date after that? March 2nd? All right. Well, we already have, we have the 40B on March 2nd. What do we have for regular matters on 40? None, okay. So would March 2nd work for you? For another date for us to come back?
To me,
Gentlemen, if there are any comments that you'd like to make, either to the audience or to Mr. Riom,
Yes.
Speak freely.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I agree that this lot is unique. I've been on this board for a long time. I'm an engineer with structural, architectural background, and I've seen these things. I see it every day. Being in the flood zone and the velocity is challenging. If this wasn't, I can tell you we can do. We granted before variances on setback relief within areas that comparable, which, I agree. Lot coverage, I don't think I have an issue with the lot coverage, but I'm not sold, I'm not convinced that you can do this size addition without going 50% over the value of the house. That triggers another thresholds of meeting requirements for flood storage, that you have to be, if you need to be above elevation 19, how are you gonna get there with the 11, 7-inch riser on a 10-inch or 11-inch thread?
We wouldn't be able to get the extra story if,
But I think I don't think you're gonna qualify for, I don't think this is gonna be 50%. That's my whole issue. No, I'm not convinced. And I think I don't know if you talked to the building inspector now, if you meet maybe a smaller addition that it's designed more to complement what's there or the neighborhood in some way, this just, it looks like a rectangle, a block that was maximizing the space on the lot. That's my feeling. And again, if it wasn't in the flood and the velocity flood and all those constraints, I would probably feel differently, but it's a very challenging. I honestly don't think you can do this addition on that lot.
okay, so I will.
That's my feeling,
I'll submit some additional information for you to
Well, the
consider.
additional information you need to show, I think, I didn't look at the elevations in details, but you need two means of egress. I only see one set of stairs on the site. You need to show on the site plan your stairs, where your stairs are. I mean, they show it on the elevations, but I need to see how you access the unit. The flood, maybe you can indicate on the elevation, the flood elevation too, on the elevation of the buildings.
Yeah.
It's straightforward. My main concern is if you don't qualify to waive the requirements for the flood elevation, you can't build this. And I don't see how you could do it with the 24 by 24 unless you get I'm not sure who's gonna build this for $100 a square foot, right now. Materials over that, so even if he says, I'm doing it as the homeowner, you can't justify it. So
I'll submit
that's
some
my
additional
biggest
data.
challenge,
Well, in the interim, I just kindly ask that you would, I'm sorry.
No, I was just,
Attorney Farry, I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned continuing the case to March 2nd. I don't have any problems with you going out there and take a look at it. I would just notify the board and the chair here that I've been out there a few times. In fact, when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time in that area. It bothers me right now that nothing that the town can do about it, but I think this addition, I agree with my brother here that I don't know how it can be done. Mr. Brooks is a builder. He said that if he could find the guy to build it for that price, he'd hire him. I'd hire the guy today too to build it. Mr. Ram did a great job on the plans. I don't have any problems with the plans there, but this project doesn't make any sense for that neighborhood. And it doesn't make any sense that we have, and no control over the town here, but it doesn't make any sense. We're actually sanctioning a person to run a business in a small neighborhood, because that's what this woman's doing. She got an Airbnb. I just happened to bump into somebody that rented it. And now what she wants to do is expand that business to the detriment of that neighborhood. It doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you, but
Doesn't
we
make
don't
any
have a
sense.
bylaw that allows us to prohibit anyone from doing that. They
Right,
still
I
have- they
realize
still have
that, and I
property
just
rights.
mentioned that
They
'cause
still have property rights.
In my opinion, that's one of the reasons why I can't vote for this project. No matter how many times we continue it, I just don't see it makes any sense for that neighborhood.
Okay.
I mean, part of our job is to look at every single case by case and uniqueness. I think this is why I was saying before, being on the flood zone and then velocity zone, that's problematic for this kind of size addition. Maybe there's something they can do with the building commissioner. I think if you meet the setbacks, you got a smaller addition that you need to do. Maybe, demonstrate to the building commissioner that you are within the 50% and you don't have to go, that would be great. But I don't see it. I mean, I agree. And believe me, I've been on this board, but maybe, I don't know, close to 12 years now, 20 years, I'm not sure. But I find it hard to grasp, And especially when I said, with the background that I have, I don't see it, I would hire a very talented architect or creative and see what you can do. Like I said, this is just a block. It just looks like rectangle. Somebody put a block and put a second floor with the roof on it, doesn't complement what's there too, so.
Okay.
So, Mr. Riom, now that you've sort of got a sense as to what the thinkings are of each of the members of the board, I still leave it up to you to decide whether or not you still would want to plot it out so I could go take a look at it. But I think Attorney Faria has sort of, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's certainly voiced that given the uniqueness of this, and I think this is almost a neighborhood within a neighborhood. I think that's a fair assessment of this. That these people, this is a private roadway that serves some homes, and even though these people aren't related, but they're related by a road, and they all get served by it. And the lady said something, and she said, read between the lines, and I think that touches upon a lot of what goes on, even though we don't have bylaws. We don't have bylaws that prohibit us from keeping people from being able to use their properties as an Airbnb. We don't. And if that's something that the people of this town, they want to protect from, then that's something they ought to consider at town meeting and present that before town meeting as to how that would be handled. But I can tell you this, that doesn't drive my decision in and of itself. It's more about the impact that what the construction in and of itself will have on the immediate property and then the surrounding neighbors. And I think it's pretty significant to me. But I wanted to get more of a visual. I'm a conceptual type thinker and learner, and I wanted to see sort of the size of this based on what was plotted out. But you heard what Attorney Faria said, so I leave it up to you. If you want to continue it, we can continue it to March 2nd. If you want to put the plots out and the markings, I will go a couple days after. You could just let Michelle know,
Yeah.
and then she will let me know, and I will take a drive out there to take a look at it.
Yeah. I do want to continue the meeting, and I will stake it out,
Okay,
and I will notify Michelle when it's been
Okay.
staked out.
so we'll put it on for the March 2nd meeting. It'll be the first case out. Thank you, Mr. Riom. I'll entertain a motion to continue it.
I move we continue, I don't have, do you have the numbers of that? Yeah, special permit, ZSP-25-6 to March 2nd,
At 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. So for everyone in the audience and the viewers at home, this case is being continued to Monday, not gonna be a Thursday, it's Monday, March 2nd at 5 o'clock PM. And in the interim, it's been made public that I will go and take a look at the site. I wanna see what, I don't think I've ever been on Bono Court. I was born and raised in this town, but I don't ever think I've been on Bono Court. I wanna see what it looks like and get a sense as to what the structure, if it were built, what it would, sort of get a sense of the impact it would have to the road and to the use of the road and to the immediate abutters. Okay? Fair enough? All right. Be well, folks. Have a nice night. All right. We're going to take a 5 or 10 minute recess. Good evening and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of February 12th, 2026. We started the meeting with local matters. We now have the 6 o'clock, we're running a little late, but the 6 o'clock portion of tonight's hearing is designated to 40B, and it's a continuation of comprehensive permit ZCMP-25-1, and it was continued from January 8th, 2026. The petitioner is Mr. Paul Cusson. The owner is Bliss Investors LLC. The subject property is 970 Tucker Road. It's also known as map 46, lot 2, and it's in the single residence B district. I'm not going to go through the whole dissertation. We all know that this is a 40B project. They're seeking to, at this point, I believe it's 137 units at the former site of the Hawthorne Country Club, and it's now called the Hawthorne. So, we are here tonight to, obviously, we're opening the hearing again. We will have public comments available. I will allow public comments later on in the meeting. But first, we're going to hear upon some town officials. We have Mr. Tim Barber and we have Mr. Dan Giosa, who is going to explain to us some of the waivers that are being put together. There was a list, I think you might have seen them up there before. For those who haven't, they look like this. There are numerous of them. At this point, I don't know, let's see what the number is at this point.
100.
111. 111 waivers.
Nice number.
So obviously, I'm hopeful that some of this stuff is just, we can paraphrase over it, but we're going to hear from, I'll call upon Mr. Tim Barber, put him on the hot seat
Yeah,
first.
well, I'm going to go first if that's okay
that's
with you,
okay,
Mr.
sure.
Chair. Okay, I just want to set the context for everyone, if
Actually,
that's
but
okay.
before you do that, I want to
Yes.
just explain one more thing. So we've always had 3 members of this board. Attorney Human has been sitting since day 1 of the hearings of this particular case. However, unfortunately, he was not able to be here tonight. I've been told through counsel and also based on my understandings under the law, we're able to proceed with just 2 members of the board, myself and Mr. Schuba, and we are voting members of the board. It will be required that prior to the next hearing date, that Mr. Attorney Alvin Newman will have to listen to tonight's meeting via video. He'll watch the video. He has to sign a affidavit. It's a Mullins, it's on the Mullen rule, and he signs it indicating he reviewed it, he understands what transpired, and he can do that, I believe, at least only one time, and still serve as a voting member. So we're following the rules that are allowed by us. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here this evening. We tried to see if we could accommodate it, but it wouldn't work for him or us. So as a result, we're moving forward. He will be here at the next hearing, is my understanding. As to what date that is, that hasn't been set as of yet. That'll be something we'll discuss towards the latter part of the meeting. So now I'll turn it over, excuse me, one of the things. Oh, yes, I also need to reiterate that Dr. Agai has previously recused himself on this project, on this request. He's an alternate member of this board, but he's not partaking in any decision-making or any part of the decision-making process. He basically simply sits here today as an abutter, as all of you. He's an abutter to the project, no different than anyone here in the audience, either here in person or television audience. So now, at this point, I guess I can turn it over to Attorney Murphy.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to kind of set the stage for everyone, since there's a lot of information, a lot of it's going to be technical, that probably Mr. Farland and the staff members will be speaking to. So as part of the 40B process, the zoning board sits as every other local board. So you sit as if you're the planning board, or as if you're the Board of Health, as if you're the DPW committee. You sit in their stead under Chapter 40B. And as part of that process as well, the applicant is permitted to request waivers from any local regulations that they don't wish to comply with. They state the reason why. Then the board needs to review those waivers and make a determination whether or not to approve or grant or deny the waivers. So in this case, there is this chart that was provided by the applicant. Part of the reason why it's expanded over time is because the original list was much more generic in nature, what is referred to as blanket waivers. Blanket waivers are not appropriate because it's kind of a wholesale waiving a whole bylaw or a whole sections of the bylaw. So they did do what was requested, which was to break down all of those different regulations and list out all of the various sections that they wanted waivers from. What's a little bit different here, and I know it's going to be hard for anyone sitting here to read that, so because the print is very small, but we'll try to explain it the best we can, since they won't be able to read it themselves. But the reason why there's 3 different colors on what's before the board and what's up on the screen. There's rows that are in white. Those are waiver requests in which the your peer review consultant and your town officials who have reviewed it, and there's a couple legal issues, so I'm in here too, are recommending what the board's action might be. There's a few that are in yellow, and those kind of came in the last kind of wave of updates to the waiver request, where some clarification is needed, so that's why they're in yellow. We might need to discuss them, or the board may wish to discuss them in a little more detail. And then there's the items in blue. And the items in blue, you'll see there's a row where it says waiver request, but it doesn't say waiver, it says post-approval. And this is information or design or calculations or whatever it may be that is required under one of the local regulations, but the applicant has not prepared those materials or that information yet. So it's never been presented or submitted to the board. And what they are stating is that they are going to, if assuming an approval of this project, that they would submit all of this information after the fact. So it's three different categories of kind of requests that are here. And what I wanted to do was at least just set up the context for it. And what I'll do is I'll just speak to kind of the recommended action by the board on all the blue items. But then when you get to all the other items, the technical items, I'll turn it over to the people who know the technical. One of the things that's important to note is this project is a subdivision. A subdivision is a legal term that's defined under the subdivision control law, which is under Mass General Laws, Chapter 41. And under 81L, it defines a subdivision. And basically, they're taking one lot and they're putting in subdivision roadways and creating multiple different lots. It is a subdivision. Just because this is a 40B does not mean that the subdivision control law doesn't apply. The state law all state laws apply to all 40Bs. So subdivision control law applies to this project. The only question is whether or not the board will grant waivers to any of the local planning board regulations that the planning board adopted in order to administer the subdivision control law. So you'll see some of them are maybe a little bit different, but for the most part, and I'll read it, it's on the far right, so you can't see it on the screen. But for all of the blue that you see, where it's saying whatever the regulation is, that they'll say, we'll submit this information after the fact if you approve our project. What I have prepared this language for the board's consideration, it says post-approval submission with the definitive subdivision, which they will have to submit a definitive subdivision plan. So post-approval submission with the definitive subdivision permitted, subject to peer review by the civil engineer if required as determined by the DPW director, but no waiver from this regulation is granted as no information has been provided during the hearing for the board or peer review. And then changes shown on the definitive subdivision plan require a notice pursuant to, and then I cite the statute, the regulation, 760 CMR 56.0511. And so what that regulation, that's a 40B regulation, and what that regulation says is if after a comprehensive permit is granted by the board, an applicant desires to change the details of its project as approved by the board, it shall promptly notify the board in writing describing such change, and then within 20 days, the board shall determine and notify the applicant whether it deems the changes substantial or insubstantial. And if the board deems that they're substantial, then they will have to come back. So typically, once you get approved, you're not supposed to be required to come back to the board for ministerial or plan cleanup or that type of thing. But if you make substantial changes to the plans after a permit has been granted, the board looks at the plans, deems whether they're substantial or not, and if the board finds they're substantial, they will have to come back for a new hearing on those plans. So although you will see there are, we can go into as much detail, and like I said, if we want to get into the technical detail on any of the items, you have Mr. Farland and you have your town officials here who are experts, but in general, just in summary, any item that's on blue has pretty much almost verbatim the same recommended language that the board could consider adopting with respect to these items if you get to a vote, a favorable vote on the project. And I'm happy, I know that's a lot of information, but I'm happy to answer questions.
I kind of get the gist of what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So said I'm noticing that there's a lot of blue.
Right. So for the most part, and you'll see, so at the top of each sheet, it says the regulation. So the first one's stormwater, the next couple of pages are subdivision rules and regulations. And in effect, what has been submitted is what might be considered a preliminary subdivision plan under the subdivision control law, where it's basically a very bare bones subdivision plan where not a lot of information is given, and the board, the planning board typically would review it just like, almost like an informal review. It doesn't matter whether, if this was the planning board, it wouldn't matter whether the preliminary plan was approved, denied. It doesn't have any legal, substance to it. The purpose of the preliminary plan is for the planning board to take an initial peek at what the developer is proposing and give them feedback. Like when you come back, you have to do this, you've left out that, you need to provide this information. So in effect, what you have before you is a preliminary subdivision plan. I would say it doesn't even meet the requirements of a preliminary subdivision plan under the town's rules and regulations. So for example, it doesn't give you the lot size of every lot, the frontage of every lot, et cetera. But let's just say, in effect, it's as if you were given a preliminary plan, and pretty much everything in blue here is what's required when you submit a definitive subdivision plan, which they will be required to do, even under 40B.
Okay.
All right? So I think then maybe it makes sense to then, we can maybe skip over the blue at this point and maybe start walking through the items in white that starts with line 5, and at this point I would turn it over
Okay.
to the DPW director.
All right. Please state your name.
Tim Barber, Department of Public Works Director. Good evening.
All right, so you're going to explain to us and the public here at large just what some of these some of these waivers, what they actually mean, and how it is that they're arriving, and you feeling that it meets the requirements that the town regs have provided for. Is that what you're going to basically indicate to us?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So on item number 5, a stormwater management plan, which is required in the town's stormwater regulations. The waiver was requested, and based on that the 40B project and the applicant is filing a stormwater plan that meets Mass DEP standards, we recommend the waiver.
Okay.
On number 6, general performance standards for all sites. Where the 40B project, the applicant is filing a plan, again, that meets the Mass DEP standards, we recommend the waiver. On number 7, where the applicant has requested a waiver from pollutant removal thresholds, so both total suspended solids, where the town bylaw and stormwater regulations require removal of 90% total suspended solids and 60% of phosphorus. The local requirement exceeds the Mass DEP stormwater standards, and due to this being a sensitive area, draining into a Aquifer 2 zone and then indirectly into the Pascamanchit River, which currently has a total maximum daily load of pollutant load and nutrient loading that cannot be exceeded, along with the town's wells being just west of the Pascamanchit River, we request that this waiver is denied.
All right, so just for clarification, assuming that we were to deny the waiver, what onus or burden does that put upon the applicant?
To design their stormwater treatment systems to meet those standards of 90% removal of suspended solids and 60% of nutrients.
And that's to meet our local standards, even though they exceed.
Correct.
The state standards?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And that would be, excuse me, Mr. Chair, that would be submitted after the post-development or prior?
No, we're saying that we would deny the waiver, so.
No, I know, you were denied the waiver, but they have to comply, but would they have to comply post the,
Oh, yeah,
so
okay.
they.
I see what your question is.
Yeah, okay.
So what's your thought on that,
Well,
Susan?
well, my understanding, but if Mr. Farley could correct me, is that at this point, they've submitted everything they plan on submitting. So it would become, this would get rolled into the conditions if the board were to approve it. There's going to be obviously, there's lots of information that's going to need to be submitted, and this would be included. It would have to be an updated stormwater report that shows that they designed it to that standard.
So let's assume we've got a litany of conditions that we feel as a board would adequately address the concerns of the immediate abutters, people in the town, traffic, stormwater, all of that. We have a bunch of them, and they don't agree to those conditions. What happens then?
They could appeal the permit. So even if typically people think, oh, you deny a permit, then the applicant may appeal. But it can, even if you get granted a permit, if you don't agree with the conditions, whatever board, whether it's this board, any board, if you don't agree with the conditions, you can appeal it. With a Chapter 40B project, there's a state created board by statute under Chapter 40P. It's called the Housing Appeals Committee, and their sole job is to hear appeals of applicants who are unhappy with a zoning board's decision. So that would be at their option to appeal.
Who would be present at that hearing to basically support the determination made by this board?
So typically how it works at the Housing Appeals Committee is they would file their appeal and they would list all of their disagreements with either disagreeing with the board's conditions or disagreeing with the board's determinations on the waivers. They can object to either. And then both sides would have their expert witnesses. So typically, the expert witnesses for both sides would make their case. First, they do it in written pleadings.
Okay.
As to defend, like either the zoning board's experts defending the board's decisions, or the applicant's experts explaining why they believe that the board's decisions were inappropriate. And then there may also be a trial where, based on the pleadings, the attorney for each side can cross-examine the other side's witnesses. And that's done in front of the Housing Appeals Committee, and then they take it under advisement. They're not a court, but they're like the equivalent of a three-person adjudicatory body. And they take it under advisement, and then eventually they will issue a written decision and state which side that they believe was more credible in presenting their evidence. So that's the process.
And the people that sit on that committee, are they retired judges, or are they lawyers?
No, they're appointed by the governor.
Sorry, we went down that track. I just wanted some clarification on that, to see where, if it goes down that path, where things are gonna go. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue, Mr. Barber.
Thank you. Number 8 of the stormwater regs waivers, regulatory compliance documentation summary. So the basis is that it's duplicative of the Mass DEP and federal stormwater compliance documentation. So we recommend that it's waived to the extent the regulations is duplicative of Mass DEP and federal standards. But the project should be subject to other stormwater regulations that are not waived by the ZBA, as they have been adopted to comply with Dartmouth's MS4 permit in accordance with state law.
Okay.
The number 9 waiver in regards to low-impact development narrative. Mass DEP encourages low-impact development, but does not mandate LID construction. So we recommend that it is waived as well. Number 10, building on steep slopes. 40B applicant is filing a plan that is meeting Mass DEP standards, so we recommend allowing this waiver.
Okay.
And number 11, request a waiver of a 10-minute time of concentration. The
6 minutes.
basis of the waiver is that the recommended minimum of 0.1 per hour is utilized, and currently they are meeting this requirement, but they requested to keep the waiver in case they need to use it in the future. We recommend it's denied as the requirement is met and as part of a blanket waiver that should not be granted. The sections 12 through 21 are also colored in blue, which are considered post-approval.
Yeah, we're gonna skip those for tonight.
Skip those. So, section 21, a waiver requesting that waiving the inspection and site supervision of the DPW for the stormwater construction on the basis that the project will be a private development. We recommend that this is denied as typically the town of Dartmouth Department of Public Works is the inspectional authority for the town for stormwater construction for subdivisions.
Only one correction, I just want to make sure, you may have a different version from what I have. You
Yeah.
referred to it as number 21, but I think that was number 22 on my,
It was 22, sorry.
okay, no problem.
Number 23, a waiver requesting surety of the project based on this being a private development. And we recommend that it is waived, subject to the compliance with Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81U, with the provision of security.
So, Mr. Chair, I can explain. So, again, that's a section of the subdivision control law, and so it's a state law. And under Section 81U, anyone who builds a subdivision is required to provide some form of security to, typically it's the planning board, in this case it will be to the zoning board, and it's either in the form of a covenant, so no lots can be released until they meet certain conditions, or they can provide a cash surety or a bond. So there's different options under the subdivision control law. The applicant can choose which of those they wish to provide, but they must provide one under the subdivision control law. So that, I just wanted to explain the statutory
Similar
reference.
to what the planning board does, they take covenants.
Exactly.
Okay.
The same thing, except you are the planning board in this
Call
instance.
it Form F covenants or something in Uptown?
Are they Form F?
Are they Form F covenants?
Or,
It's a performance covenant.
Forms covenant,
Yep.
okay. But there's a form for it, I thought it was.
yeah, that-
That's just our
Okay,
designations.
fair enough.
Number 24, requesting a waiver of final reports on the basis that this will be a private development and reporting in accordance with state regulations. We request that this is denied, as we would request final reports for all construction of the stormwater. In addition to that, again, with our MS4 state regulations and federal regulations, we're required to report on the stormwater and the stormwater operations and maintenance year after year. Number 25, request of the waiver for the certificate of completion of the stormwater. Due to this being a private development and reporting in accordance with state regulations, we would recommend a partial waiver to the extent that specific waivers are granted to any of the stormwater regulations, but not on any that are not waived or recommended for denial.
So then we're moving to the subdivision rules and regulations. I don't know if Mr. Giosa would like to speak to these.
Sure. For the record, Daniel Giosa, planning director here in Dartmouth. So the first one under line 28, this is a waiver of the Form C application. As mentioned, the ZBA will act as the approving authority on this, so they are asking to not have to file that Form C application with the planning board. So that is recommended to be an approved waiver request. Number 33, plan order. Throughout these comments and post-approval comments, the applicant is pretty much planning to provide all that information, so there's no need to grant that waiver. So we are recommending to deny that one. For plan content notes, again, these are notes that are typical of a subdivision. So instead of the planning board, it'll be the ZBA, so that one is a recommended to deny. Locus size, basically just making the locus at the size requested, so that is a request for deny. Going down to number 41, property monuments. So this is a partial recommendation. They are proposing only 12 permanent markers for the whole subdivision. If they were coming before the planning board, they would require monumentation at any change in curvature of the road. So anytime the road bend, there'd be a bound at the tangent points. That is a lot of bounds for this subdivision. We understand that, so we are recommending a partial waiver that requires monuments at all the intersections and at the cul-de-sacs, but waive monuments for the changes within the roadway itself. Going down to number 43, again, plan notes, so it is our recommendation to deny that one. Number 45, this is street and utility plan requirement. Again, this goes back to what Attorney Murphy had mentioned. This is a subdivision, so the subdivision control law will apply. It'll just be for the ZBA to make those decisions. Number 47, again, these are notes for the street and utility plans. It is a subdivision, so we are recommending denying that waiver. On to the next page, number 49. Alternate roadway designs provide safe access while minimizing impervious areas. It's not a specific waiver they're looking for, just by definition, so the recommendation is to deny that waiver request. Waive lot access and frontage limitations of street classifications. This is number 50. This goes into the request for layouts and how the roads are determined for different volume of lots. So we are recommending that waiver. Number 51, waive maximum number of lots served by a combination of residential service streets. Again, same comment on that, so we recommend the waiver for that one. Number 52, allow straight lengths of roads in excess of 300 feet. In our regulations, we looked for curvilinear roads, helps with reduction in speed, safety concerns. It's not something to say that it's not acceptable from a state standard, so we are recommending yes on that waiver. Number 54, again, allow straight lengths of road in excess of 300 feet, same comment, so yes on that waiver. Down to number 58, waive requirements that all roadways be constructed in accordance with DPW specifications. We are saying yes on that, provided that all roads in the development are maintained as private roadways in perpetuity, so they wouldn't be eligible for acceptance by the town. Number 61, allow shoulders area horizontal grade of 1.5%. We recommend granting that waiver request. Number 62, waive requirements for guardrails where planning board opines hazards such as drop-offs, steep grades, or water bodies. obviously the safety concerns, so we are recommending to deny that one, except to note that the ZBA is making the determination rather than the planning board. Again, this is necessary for safety for vehicles, pedestrians, especially children in a subdivision of this size. Number 64, street trees. They're looking for an alternative street trees designed and will be finalized post-approval. Again, we are recommending a partial waiver on that. Street trees required, but prior to commencement of construction, applicant must submit a plan that includes the location and spacing that will be subject to review and approval by the planning director. Number 66, this goes back to, very similar to the one before, talking about roadway monuments. Recommend a partial waiver that requires monuments at all intersections and at the cul-de-sacs. Recommends waivers for any change in roadway curvature. 67, this is for a drainage waiver, stormwater to comply with Mass DEP standards. We are recommending a partial waiver on that, so there are parts of the drainage that don't coincide with the DPW's new stormwater regulations. So as long as they are in compliance with those stormwater regulation, we will agree on the waivers for that. Number 70, community mailboxes, location per final plan or approved under equivalent by building commissioner. Yes, subject to review and approval of location by planning director. Number 71, subdivision control law doesn't apply, was the basis for that. Subdivision control law does apply, but waive as not applicable to this project. The same would be for the next two, stonewall protection and specimen tree protection. The subdivision control law will apply, but we can waive it as not applicable to this project specifically. Improvements outside of subdivision, this is number 74. Recommends to deny as both applicant's traffic consultant and board's peer review consultant have recommended conditions related to adjacent public ways outside the subdivision, and those conditions should be included in the board's decision. Also, subdivision control law applies to this project. On to the next page. That's 75 now. Homeowners Association, again, the basis subdivision control, oops, sorry, number 76, that was 75 was a category. Thank you, Tim. Subdivision control law does not apply. Again, this kind of goes into, yes, the planning board is not involved, but we recommend that this still be submitted to the town planner for review and approval rather than the planning board. This just gives us a chance to look at how that homeowners association is written and allow for comment. Review of other municipal or local agencies. This is being reviewed by the zoning board and town consultants, so recommend yes for that waiver. Number 78 for public hearings. Subdivision control law does apply, but they can waive this as planning board hearing, as, again, the ZBA is sitting as the planning board under MGL Chapter 40B. Number 79, decision of the planning board. Yes, except as to any applicable requirements under the subdivision control law, which will be administered by the board. Number 80, subsequent action to a definitive plan, recommending to deny this waiver request. The project constitutes a subdivision as defined in MGL Chapter 41, Section 81L, and therefore the subdivision control law does apply. Due to the amount of information that the applicant has indicated will be designed and submitted post-approval, the definitive subdivision may require a notice of project change under 760 CMR 56.0511. In addition, this project is subject to MGL Chapter 41, Section 81U, and all other applicable provisions of the subdivision control law as a state law as to the requirements for endorsement of the definitive subdivision plan and for the release of those lots.
And I just want to note, and we can maybe go through all of the ones in white first, and then talk about what's best. We did the staff and Mr. Gabriel, who's your peer review engineer, had not had a chance to go back to Mr. Farland with their questions of the items in yellow. So we can either discuss them at the end if the board wishes with Mr. Farland, or he's just seeing this for the first time himself. We could hold off until next time, whatever the board decides, but I just wanted to,
Yeah, we can skip them for now.
yeah, okay. So then the next is the zoning bylaw, so it might be Mr. Giosa again. That's,
You want me to go through these?
yeah, the ones in white. Well, the first one, I'll just speak to the one in green, and Mr. Farland, this might just be something we clean up in the waiver chart going forward. There was a waiver requested, which we don't believe is needed because we believe the subdivision roads or a subdivision project is exempt from the earth and soil removal bylaw. There was a waiver asked, it was put under zoning bylaw, but I believe they meant to ask for a waiver of the earth and soil removal bylaw. However, that bylaw has an exemption for subdivisions, so we don't believe that you need the waiver, but if you want to take a look at that, Mr. Farland, let us know if you think you need it. Okay, all right, sorry, so we're on 84.
Okay, this is for zoning bylaw, under section 375, 8.2. The underlying zoning district, single residence B, does not allow for two families, but we are recommending the waiver to grant the 14 two-family homes as proposed. The next one, number 86, has to do with lot frontage. Allow lots, what they're requesting is allow lots with less than 200 feet of frontage. We are commenting to waive only to the extent of the dimensional information provided on the zoning table on sheet 1 of 34 in the plan set. Last revision, January 7th, 2026. Under section 375, 8.4 G2, minimum parking ratios and layout standards. The basis commented was to allow parking spaces within 10 feet from perimeter property lines and within 20 feet from street lines. We are recommending that waiver request. Under 375, 8.4 G4, allow parking spaces to be 9 by 18. We are also recommending yes on that waiver request. 375-24, site plan review regulations. Comment was site plan review wouldn't apply. We agree, waiver not required as this is a subdivision. 375-25, limits on size and location of project signage. Project signage limited to identification and safety needs. This was listed as a no. Mr. Chairman, if I can, through Attorney Murphy, we were just looking for more clarification on that one, right?
Right, so, I mean, it's just for a blanket waiver for all of the signage dimensional requirements, so it's unclear why whatever, I mean, street signs are the size of street signs, stop signs are stop signs, so we're not sure what kind of signage would need a waiver. So that's why it seemed like a blanket waiver without any further clarification as to the type of signage that would need a waiver.
Okay. Well, do we need clarification from them on that, as to what?
Yeah,
the
well,
intentions
I think if they would like the waiver, they should provide specifics about, we want to have a sign at the front entrance and we want it to be this big. Like, then that would be something that your staff could evaluate and say, okay, yeah, it's 2 square feet bigger, no big deal. But we don't have any of that, we didn't have any of that information to evaluate. And it seemed like a blanket waiver.
I was thinking of it as for, driving signage, so people will know where to go, where to park, things of that
That's
nature.
MUTCD, I believe, right? Is that recommended by the traffic engineer? We're not talking about the directional and the.
A flow of traffic within the subdivision, right? We're not talking about that, unless we are. If we are, then.
You asking me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I think in this case, it would most likely be the signage in the front for the development.
Okay.
But we can.
Is there anything on the plan that shows that there's going to be a sign and what the size is?
There's not.
Okay.
Just the street signage is on the plan.
Okay.
But we could.
This request was about the signage out in front.
I believe so.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So the next one would go back. These are the DPW construction specifications. So I think we can go back to the DPW director. Yep.
Thank you. Number 96, requesting a waiver of general provisions This section should only apply to work within the public way and not within a private development, specifically the inspectional requirements. We recommend a partial waiver as to DPW inspection of roadways only, subject to compliance with the subdivision regulations, and that the roadway is maintained as a private roadway in perpetuity, based on not being inspected by the Department of Public Works. 97, for road construction waiver, 40B projects of private development, material specifications shall be per the details within the plans and not per MassDOT specifications, specifically gravel, concrete, and asphalt requirements for parking lots, roadways, sidewalks, and driveways. We recommend a partial waiver, again, subject to pavement design calculations for public safety, subject to third-party inspections, within compliance with the subdivision regulations and maintained as a private roadway in perpetuity.
So just, if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump in. So for example, Mr. Chair, the town would want to be sure that the fire trucks, like the roadways are designed to a proper load, that a fire truck would not sink the road, that type of thing.
Okay.
Is that right? Did I get that one right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Number 98, on drainage construction, as a 40B projects of private development, requesting a waiver of high-density polyethylene flared ends to be allowed rather than the specification of concrete flared ends. And we recommend this being denied. The requirement or specification of concrete flared ends and end-line pipe sections is considered a safety specification in case of fire in a field or within the drainage system. It could pose a hazard if you use a polyethylene pipe versus a concrete pipe. Section number 99, also on drainage construction, requesting a waiver of frames, covers, gratings, and hoods, that they should be per plan and do not have to be manufactured within the USA. And frame castings shall be raised by means of methods of the contractor, and polypropylene grade adjustment rings are not required. We recommend waiving this requirement subject to the drainage facilities being privately maintained along with the roadway in perpetuity. Number 100, also drainage construction, requesting a waiver of the outlet control structures that they should be per plan and not in accordance with Department of Public Works standards, specifically wear plates and trash baffles. We recommend allowing this waiver, subject to the drainage facilities being privately maintained in perpetuity. 101, waiver also for drainage construction on the backfill material and methodology per design engineer and not per Department of Public Works or Mass DOT specifications. We recommend allowing this waiver, provided the backfilling material meets the drainage pipe manufacturer's specifications and drainage facilities are privately maintained in perpetuity. 102, requesting waiver of riprap from DPW and Mass DOT specifications. We recommend waiving this, provided that the riprap meets specifications and drainage facilities are privately maintained in perpetuity. Number 103, water main construction. The applicant stated that this section should only apply to work within the public way, not within private developments, specifically the inspectional requirements. We recommend denying this because the water service for the development will be provided by the municipal water system. All components of the water distribution system within the development must comply with materials and construction methods, which also apply to all private residential and commercial developments which are served by the municipal water system. Section 104, Also requesting a waiver of thrust block material and methodology per the design engineer for water main construction. Request that this is denied on the same grounds that the water service for the development will be provided by the municipal water system. All components of the water distribution system within the development must comply with materials and construction methods, which also apply to all private residential and commercial developments, which are served by the municipal water system.
Excuse me, may I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Absolutely.
Would that, they also apply to any town projects? Do town projects have to comply with these as well?
Yes.
So it would be private or public?
Private or
Would that be a clarification to make?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So 105, the applicant has requested a waiver of chlorinating, bacterial and pressure testing by third-party engineers and not in accordance with Department of Public Works specifications. We also recommend denying this based on the water service for the development will be provided by the municipal water system. And all components of the water distribution system will be within the development must comply with materials and construction methods, which also apply to private, residential, commercial, and public water main construction. 106, the applicant's requesting a waiver for a sanitary sewer construction, that the section should only apply to work within the public way and not within the private development. Recommend denying this because the sewer service for the development will be provided also by the municipal sewer system. All components of the sewer system within the development must comply with materials and construction methods which apply to all private, residential, and commercial and public developments which are served by the municipal sewer collection system. 107, request for waiver of the frames, covers, gratings, and hoods that they be per plan and not have to be manufactured within the USA. Frame castings should be raised by means and methods of the contractor, and polypropylene grade adjustment rings aren't required. Recommend denying on the same grounds that the sewer service for the development will be provided by the municipal sewer system. All construction components of the sewer system must comply with materials and construction methods, which apply to all private, commercial, and public developments which are served by the municipal sewer system. Number 108, 108, requesting a waiver of the backfilling material and methodology per the design engineer rather than the Department of Public Works and Mass DOT specifications. I recommend denying this as well because the sewer service for the development will be provided by the municipal sewer system. All components of the sewer system within the development must comply with the materials, construction methods, which apply to all private, commercial, and public developments served by the municipal sewer system. Section 109, applicant requested a waiver for testing not in accordance with Department of Public Works specifications, but by a third-party engineer. Recommend denying this as well, because the sewer service for the development will be provided by the municipal sewer system. All components of the sewer system within development must comply with materials and construction methods which apply to all private, residential, commercial, and public developments which are served by the municipal sewer system. 110, the applicant requested a waiver of the summary sheet of approved materials for all construction. We recommend denying this as it's a blanket waiver. As a rule, the Zoning Board of Appeals should not grant what is commonly known as a plan waiver or a blanket waiver to accommodate conditions that may be apparent on the developer's plan but not specifically identified in a list of waivers requested by the developer. The Chapter 40B Handbook for Zoning Board of Appeals dated March 2017, page 26. And number 111, the applicant requested a waiver from the town of Dartmouth construction details, and that they asked that they only be within the public way and for connections. We recommend also denying this waiver as a blanket waiver. Again, as a rule, the zoning board of appeals should not grant what is commonly known as a plan waiver or a blanket waiver to accommodate conditions that may be apparent on the developer's plan, but not specifically identified in a list of waivers requested by the developer. Again, Chapter 40B Handbook for Zoning Board of Appeals dated March 2017, page 26.
So, Mr. Chair, that's the end of the list. I would note that Mr. Farland did get these recommendations tonight, so he's just seeing them for the first time. And also, like I said, your team had not had a chance yet to follow up with him for clarifications on the item in yellow.
Okay.
But otherwise, that brings us through the list.
All right, so we don't have any peer review consultants here this evening. We do have the petitioner's engineer, they're here. But I did, and I have repeatedly said I would allow people to ask questions who have any concerns. So at this point in time, I think that you've heard a lot of the requests that are being made for waivers. And is there anyone in the audience that has any questions with some of the recommendations or suggestions that have been made by either the DPW director or the town planner as to some of the denials and some of the approvals of the waivers, if there's anything specific? And obviously, I guess at some point, if anyone wanted to see the list, we could provide that to them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, Ms. Viera could post it to the public portion of the ZBA website.
Yeah, we'll post it. We'll post it, so it'll be on the website
Okay.
if anyone wants to see what they are. So, we are opening up to the public for comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up and raise any of the concerns that you may have about the project? But before we do that, yes, I did make one promise. There is an issue that's been sort of lingering out there with regard to the access for emergency vehicles from this site onto Fairway Drive. We did receive a letter or an opinion from an attorney, I think it was Attorney Matthew, provide us an opinion that sort of led us to believe that there was the ability to access Fairway Drive, given some relationship. And I don't remember the specifics about it was already a few weeks ago. However, that is more of a private interest in property that we're not directly involved in. But the immediate abutters, or some of the immediate abutters, have engaged counsel, an attorney who's presented us with a letter, and that letter is of a different opinion as to the availability of Fairway Drive for access from this site for emergency purposes or any purposes for that matter. And I think that's Attorney Dan Perry. At this time, I'll invite you to come up and explain to us your client's position.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Can we start with just one thing first? Who do you actually represent?
The Mill Valley Farm Condominium Association.
All right, and who are they specifically?
The trustees, or they are one of the condominiums that has frontage on Fairway Drive.
Okay, so they're the association that governs
That's
the
right.
usage of Fairway Drive as a private way?
They are one of the organizations. Each of those several condominiums has an organization. Each of them uses Fairway Drive for access. I'm speaking tonight only for Mill Valley Farm Condominium.
Okay, and how many unit owners are part of that organization?
14.
14? Okay, thank you. I just wanted some clarification on that, so I know who was actually making the request.
I am, members of the board, I'm addressing a very technical legal issue tonight. I expect you are looking for guidance from your counsel on that, so to some extent addressing my arguments to her as well as the board. Several of you are lawyers. I would like to review the whole thing and show you in specifically what's going on here. The opinion of Attorney Matthew that was referred to earlier stated, and I have not addressed this in my opinion because I didn't see it at the time, stated that he felt that a 1980 deed from the developers, who were Dorothy Agai and William Schuler, to the first condominium project reserved rights of access over Fairway Drive. And he inferred from that that reservation would be a benefit for all the property. I think that's clearly wrong. The fact that they reserved the rights, which they had to because they were going to develop those other condominiums, does not mean they were committing themselves to grant it to any, in the future, to any specific project. And I think you have to look at the circumstances of the original deed that deeded out the Hawthorne Country Club property to understand what happened. Historically, there was a subdivision that created the ways that we're talking about now several years before that parcel went out. They used those ways subsequently in other projects, but the permitting scheme that was part of that subdivision was abandoned. What happened next was they created an A&R plan for the country club itself. And in analyzing this question, I think it's important to keep in mind the doctrine that creates these rights of way, which is a little bit obscure, but most easement rights on subdivision plans are created by a doctrine called easement by estoppel. And that says that if you grant a lot on a subdivision plan that shows a way, you, by implication of law, give that lot the right to use the way. Easement by estoppel also applies when you don't refer to a plan, but you describe the frontage as being on a way. In both those circumstances, the owner of that lot gets right of way. What's unique about this project was the owners of the property took great care to avoid characterizing these roads that had been shown in earlier plans as ways. And if I may approach the board, I want to show you the most important plan here. This is parcel A.
That's part of your letter. That's one of
Yeah.
the exhibits. Is that
You see-
Exhibit C?
That's Exhibit C.
Exhibit C?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm familiar with that one, okay.
The main country club parcel is parcel A. At the time, they had another hole on parcel C. I'm old enough, I remember playing that golf course, and that subsequently became part of the condominium, which is significant. But you'll notice that parcel A and that there's nothing referring to what was Fairway Drive on the plan, identifying as such in this plan. You'll also notice that if you refer to the deed that refers to this plan, it does not describe this portion of Fairway Drive, this portion of the lot, which in fact fronts on Fairway Drive as shown on another plan, as being on a way. It just refers to that distance. Same with parcel C. All these dimensions do not refer to the way. In fact, the other portions of the property that do front on public ways mention specifically the way in those deeds.
Let me ask you something. Back in 1980, who owned the actual parcel that's considered the country club?
I think Dorothy Agai owned it together with William Schuler, and I think they deeded out partial interests between 1980 and 1982, which is why the grantors and the deeds for the country club parcel were different than they were in the 1980 deed.
Okay.
But
So-
they owned.
So when it was owned in 1980, there wasn't an active country club there at the time?
Yeah, there
yet?
was.
There was?
Yeah.
All right, and that was held by two individuals at the time?
The land was owned by two individuals. There's a long history
But
that I
when they
haven't gone into before that.
But when they conveyed that property, was there any reservation of rights to use any of the ways that are part of Fairway Drive?
When they conveyed parcel A, no. When they conveyed parcel C, no. There's no mention of those ways.
Okay.
There's another document that is even more significant. At the same time, they conveyed that parcel A and parcel C to the future developers of the country club, and there were intervening owners. They gave an easement across Fairway Drive. It's only 20 feet wide, and that's so they could get from the hole on parcel C to parcel A. That easement's only 20 feet wide. They would not have to grant an easement if they had intended to give easement rights over, general easement rights over Fairway Drive. I think it's pretty clear that's what they were doing. They were clearly creating a plan without reference to the ways, with deeds without reference to the ways, and gave an easement across the way, so it was very, very clear that this country club property did not have the right to generally use Fairway Drive.
What was the specific grant? That was an express easement, right?
Yep.
And it's, what did it limit the use to?
It's Exhibit D.
D, right? Exhibit
Yeah.
D, that's where I'm
Yeah.
at. Is it the highlighted portion here?
Yeah, that's right.
Basically says, agree that persons entitled to the use of the golf course shall have the right and easement to travel by foot or golf cart to and from said parcel A and said parcel C across said land of CMJ over a golf cart path not to exceed 20 feet in width in a location to be mutually agreed upon and to be finally evidenced by the recording of a plan showing the location of said golf cart path. Said path shall be generally located in the most direct route from said parcel C across Fairway Drive and the land of CMJ within the northeast portion of the lot shown as 3.69 acres. So there's some specific limitations as to what the grant of the easement was.
They only could use that 20-foot
And
strip.
it was only really to traverse it across from one side to the other, not along the
They
roadway.
didn't want golf carts
Okay.
up and down Fairway Drive. It's pretty clear.
Continue. I just wanted to make sure I was reading the right thing.
There's a couple cases I refer to, the Patel case and the Darman case. I'll just briefly summarize what they say. Patel says you get an easement by estoppel if you refer to a plan that shows it as a way, or you describe it in a deed as being on a way. Those are the only two ways. If you don't have that, you don't have easement by estoppel. And that Darman case, I think, is significant, which says that the fact that a piece of property borders on land that is shown on a way other than the plan referred to in the deed does not incorporate that plan and does not create any rights. Another issue that's come up is they have suggested that because they're only wanting to use this area, this portion of they only want to use Fairway Drive for emergency access, that because municipal authorities have rights to go over ways, over private property and performing their duties, and that's conferred by statute, that this is the only right that's being implicated here, and that the developer really isn't asking for any use itself, it's simply providing a space for municipal users. We're fortunate enough to have a case in the land court from about a month and a half ago that confronted that very direct issue. And they made the exact same argument. I believe the board has seen this case, but it's in my letter of today, February 12th, I've attached it as Exhibit A.
We had, but we knew that it hadn't been appealed yet, and it was still within the appeal period.
Yeah, that's expired now.
Right, and that's expired, and there was no appeal filed?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
I
good.
never really bought into that argument anyway, from day one, but
Okay.
I get it.
But we have a case now, and it's the only case of authority, and it says, no, you can't do it. And it's pretty well reasoned. Say, you know, you're not piggybacking on the municipal rights to go into a burning building. That doesn't mean you can build an access to a private way to serve your subdivision. So that's my pitch, members of the board. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. I think I get an understanding of it, but there may be, I've got Mr. Schuby here if he has any questions.
No, I just,
I still have Attorney Farrier. He's here.
I don't have any.
All right. All right, so in case anybody in the audience would have any questions, if you'd like to hang around just a little bit longer in the event that they have any questions about that. But I think I've got to give a little explanation that this is not directly within our purview here in the granting of this particular form of relief. These are private property rights that are basically to be debated or disputed or resolved between two private individuals. And a trust, in this case, potentially, versus the owners of the site. But I wouldn't feel comfortable granting something without leaving some provision that requires them to have legal authority that would have to be determined at some point, not by us, it's not us to make that determination, but they'd have legal authority to actually access a roadway. It doesn't have to be Fairway Road. You know, there are other options. They may buy a house that's right on Tucker Road and just use some land there to access for emergency purposes. Those are other options that they may have.
I would suggest to you, Mr. Maderis, that there's case law under the subdivision control law that says that you can't, if you're showing a way for access and you don't have the right to use it, the board can deny the plan. I think you have that, if they cannot demonstrate to you that they have the right to use the ways that they have represented they have the ability to use, you have the right to deny this plan.
Well, thank you for that. All right, so we've heard from their counsel. Is there anyone in the audience? I want to give the public at large here to have an opportunity to come forward, raise any concerns that you may have. And this could be pretty much about anything, but I just ask you to keep in mind, we don't have some of the experts here tonight. So if you wanted to talk about traffic, you can ask the question, I'll take the note down, but I'm not gonna have any answer for you that I don't believe I'll have an answer for you, because we don't have that expert to actually provide that to us tonight. So, anyone in the audience, would you like to come up and speak either in favor or in opposition to this project?
Mark Mogazel, 14 8th Green Drive.
14 where?
14 8th Green Drive. I'm in a butter.
Okay.
Regarding to this potential emergency exit, I'd like to say that the loop that he spoke about just allowed the golf carts to come onto Fairway Drive, loop, and then go back into the golf course, and did not allow them to go all the way to Tucker Road, because I know in the other letter that we've seen, they said there was an easement all the way to Tucker Road. This is just a loop out, a Fairway Drive, and then back into the golf course. I'm in opposition of the development. I think it's much too large, and I think it would be detrimental to the river, the Pascagoula River, and the Pascagoula Woods, and all the wildlife that live in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. I'd also say that on Fairway Drive, parking is allowed. And I often see people park in that area where this potential emergency exit is, including landscapers and tow trucks, because there's someone in the area that drives tow trucks. So that area is often blocked off. And of course, the last few weeks, it's been completely blocked with snow. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to come forward and speak either in opposition or in support of the project?
Hello, Liz Richter, homeowner, abutter, 960 Tucker Road. I respectfully ask the board to carefully evaluate the drainage implications, particularly given the approximate 3-foot downgrade from the Hawthorne property into my property. You could put a ball at the top of it, it would roll down into my property. I have seen no information about drainage, water runoff that would handle that issue. I request that no approval be granted unless there are clear certified evidence that post-development runoff will not adversely impact abutters. I also ask the board to consider whether the scale and density are consistent with the surrounding neighborhood character.
No, it won't be, and that's why
It's
they're coming
40B.
40B. That's not gonna happen.
Last time that I spoke about this downgrade into my property, I was told by someone on the board that that's not true, but it is in fact true, and I think that there needs to be some sort of a further study to display that that's an issue. When the country club was built in the first place, just that, parking lot and the concrete base for the structure, there was a lot of flooding into my property and the property just north of mine. Think about that times all of these other buildings that are going to be that are proposed to be on this property. There is potentially a lot more water runoff into my property that I think needs to be evaluated.
Well, it's been evaluated, and as a matter of fact, he's here, you can speak to it, but we have an engineer on the board, and I think he'll tell you that, for the most part, when these sites are designed, any water that sheds onto this property is actually accounted for, it's calculated for, so that it would not go onto any adjoining property. Sometimes these things end up being much better than what they are in their current existence. But if you want to speak to that?
I mean, we have a peer review too. I'm not very specific with the plans, but in general, yeah, they can't create any more runoff or any undue flooding to other properties. And that's why we have a peer review that working with the applicant, and they're all professional engineers, and this is their specialty, and they'll address any concerns that you have,
Thanks.
So are we going to have the stormwater peer review come back at another date?
We need to talk about
Yeah, we gotta
the
talk-
peer review situation in a few minutes.
No, ma'am, I just want to make it known, we're going to, that inadvertently, we're going to get to that point. When I say inadvertently, we don't have, they haven't paid us for us to continue to hire peer reviewers. When we receive those monies, we'll be able to have them come back, and I'm sure that they would be able to answer that question specifically. They will be here, you'll be able to tell them your exact address, they'll probably call up the plan on the screen, he'll take a look at it, and he'll probably be able to answer it on that given evening. So I'll keep that in mind, I've already taken a note. Is there anyone else that would like to come up, please? We are gonna get to that, and I'm sure Mr. Farland hopefully has authority to make those decisions with us here tonight. I did say him, but that's okay, we'll take you first.
Sorry.
Ladies first.
Ladies before gentlemen.
There we go.
I'm Donna Manna, 54 Hyacinth Drive, in a butter to this project. I have a question for Mr. Barber. Mr. Barber, the amount of money that has been allocated for water in the town budget has gone from $625,000 in a fiscal year to $1.4 million in 2 years, which has increased our water bills, decreased our use of water, because now we have letters that go out saying you can't water your lawn, you can't wash a car, you can't do any of this stuff. And the quality of water that was reviewed that we buy from New Bedford was substantially less quality than our own water. With the addition of 137 properties, houses, families, what is the impact that we will feel if this is ever approved?
All right, so ma'am, actually, you have to direct the questions to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
You're a new face here, that's okay.
Yep, I'm sorry.
You have to direct, the way it works is direct it to
Okay.
me. Even I don't know the answer to the question, but you have to.
Do I
direct
have
it
to
me.
repeat the whole
No,
question?
No, I heard you, and I'm sure he did too. Now, whether or not he has the answer, I don't know, but I know he's going to make an attempt to answer the question. Are you able to answer the question for the lady?
I think so.
All right.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the costs that were stated, the 620 to 1.4 million, that's just for the purchase of water from the city of New Bedford. That doesn't include the rest of the budget.
That's right.
So we've gone from 600,000 to purchasing water from New Bedford to 1 point, what million?
1.4.
Okay, 1.4
Higher
million.
than, it's actually gone up since then.
I'm sure.
What's the reasoning behind that?
It's the cost of supplying water, the cost of purchasing water, as we have an intermunicipal agreement with the city of New Bedford. Their costs continue to go up, and every year they increase their rates that we pay. So as our peak demands are increased during peak use, and it was mentioned in regards to the use of non-essential use, outdoor water use, that's specifically enforced from May to September during drier periods where our Pascamancha River levels are monitored for elevation and flow, and once they drop to a certain elevation and flow, we have to restrict our wells, which increases our purchasing during peak use times. So along with additional growth and additional use, this peak use will go up during those times. So that's the impact. So it'll cost more, although it will include a number of additional ratepayers, which will also take some of that burden.
Yeah, that,
It's not the answer you wanted to hear.
well, because, I mean, yes, that's true. So you invite all of these people, so you invite all of these people in, expecting them to pay their fair share, but that isn't solving a problem. All that's doing is increasing the need for water, which we have to buy, and we're buying it from somebody who's, I guess, not willing to negotiate a price. They can set any price they want, and we would have to pay it, which now impacts what we pay for water. Without the addition of the 137 houses that they want to build on the golf course, the 288 apartments that they want to build someplace else, all of that to get 54 affordable housing? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me, that we would have to build all of those houses and apartments to make an impact on that 10% of housing that we have to say is affordable. I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense. Why do we have to build all of that just to satisfy that number of 74 homes? I mean, it's kind of like the building department would have to issue 137 building permits in that one area. And I think that if 137 people approached the building department about building, that they would not be able to say yes to all of them. And yet, with one sweep of the pen, we're going to say, yep, it's okay. So I think it needs to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's come on up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me some time to express my feelings on this.
Need name and address, sir.
Manuel Neto, N-E-T-O, 13 Country Club Boulevard.
How are you, Mr. Neto?
How are you, sir? I am an abutter that runs about 550 feet to this property, only separated by 100 feet of preservation land. And that land is there because in 1980, there's a little bit of history, and you already questioned one of the speakers. 1980, a similar proposal was made by Mr. Bill Schumer and his partner, and it was denied at the time. And my thought process leads me to believe that if something was denied for basically the same thing in 1980, why is it coming back now and being eligible when additional housing, Fairway Drive being one of them, that was part of the proposed deal in 1980 by Mr. Schuler. And now you have that those additional units. We have Westview Drive, we have Winslow Lane, we have all of South Dartmouth. Now we have many, many more automobiles on the road. And my appeal to you is strictly on traffic problems. I don't think, with all due respect to the petitioner, I don't think this proposal belongs there at all. I don't think it's even hard to understand that. I mean, the density of this problem alone should be enough to make anyone who has to make this decision very clear that this doesn't even belong here. I looked seriously and at the traffic studies that have been done, and I noticed, thanks to the good reporting of the Standard Times, whoever is doing that reporting, congratulations. You did a very, very good job, and thanks to you, I wouldn't even be here, because I wouldn't even know or remember that we had this hearing here. And I suspect that a lot of people are not here because they unfortunately have not read your story. But in any case, the report, the traffic report that was made for Route 6 and Tucker Road, and Allen Street and Tucker Road, and Russell's Mill Road and Tucker Road, that should be more than sufficient for you to see the numbers and what have and could happen again on that small road called Tucker Road. Now, because I live on Pascagoula Valley, I have no idea where where Pascagoula Valley is, but Country Club Road is the main road that goes in and out of Pascagoula. And I'm an old man, as you can tell. My wife, unfortunately, is as old as I am. And we get it in and out of that development every single day, sometimes more than once. And getting in and out of that development, I invite you, I'm sure most of you are familiar with it, but I invite you to take a drive there. Getting in and out of that development is like having two guns coming at you, two guns come, one from the south part of Tucker Road and the other one from Allen Street, the north part. And if you are familiar, for those of you who are familiar with that particular site, one is a little bend of about 90 degrees, the other one is even smaller. You have to have good reflexes. I don't mind telling you that I used to play soccer in my young years, and I had good reflexes then. Those reflexes aren't there anymore. And you find yourself sometimes having to stop in the middle of Tucker Road because the cars are coming. It's not just the speed, it's just the proximity to where you are on both sides. Now you would be giving me a third lane, a third gun. And may I suggest that I'd rather have three guns coming at me than three cars speeding at the same time. Because I would have to assume that the guns would be unloaded, and these cars are loaded, and they're not going to stop. So please take a look there. And I don't have to give you or suggest to you that something is going to happen there. Something has already happened there a few years back. There is an 18-year-old who's still there, and his parents still live in the neighborhood there. An 18-year-old who was killed right in the middle of Tucker Road because of the same situation that I'm trying to.
You're referring to the motorcycle fatality there?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm quite
Yeah.
familiar with that incident.
So he's still 18 years old, he's still there, and I'm reminded every time because even today, I had to struggle with a car coming right at me there. And I'm not trying to dramatize, I'm not trying to build something that, these are the facts. These are the facts, something that you really should take into consideration because all the people that live, not just in that neighborhood, but all of South Dartmouth comes through. At that bridge, the Peyton Bridge, which, by the way, I think it's one of the prettiest places in America, just as a little side note here. And once in a while, closes down, and sometimes more than a day. That's happening. And all that traffic comes out that, it goes through Tucker Road. Some of it will get off Russell's Mill, but most of it goes through Route 6 and all that traffic. And right now, you have a nice school there with a few hundred cars there, and try to drive by there. And I'm not even talking about the seriousness of the traffic off my road, but the density of the traffic off Route 6 and Allen Street. It's a nightmare. believe me. And you adding 136 more buildings with possibly 500 more people, give or take, whatever the estimate could be. And you really, yeah, I'm sure you don't want to go home one day and have blood in your hands. I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's reality. So thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope that I've helped a little bit in you making a decision.
Thank you, Mr. Nettle.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to come up? Come on up, sir.
Chuck Rezovic, 4 8th Green Drive. I'll be very quick. As far as the golf cart signs on Fairway Drive are still there, limiting the use of golf carts on Fairway Drive. And even though the club is long gone, the signs are still there. One question I wanted to ask since the beginning of attending these meetings is, if this project goes ahead and is approved, does all the infrastructure have to go in before any homes are sold? Or is it, or is that
I
phased?
believe what they indicated to us is they would be building this in phases. So there would be different phases, and then there would be occupancy and then additional phases built. Now, specifically, how many homes on the first phase or the second phase, I don't know. Now, I'm gonna ask our council, is that something that we could require, that the phases be limited to certain numbers before there would be certificates of occupancy issued?
What's going to have to, it's going to be dependent on what's needed. So they want to put in, I don't know, a portion of a roadway, but there's going to have to be able to make sure that if you're only putting in a portion of a roadway, that maybe they might have to put in a temporary cul-de-sac because a fire truck's going to have to come in and turn around or whatever. There's all these aspects that will have to be covered. The drainage will have to be in place for whatever the portions of the roadway are. So the phasing is somewhat of a, and you can probably speak to it better than me, the phasing is somewhat complicated because you have to make sure everything's being done in a proportionate way.
I
So,
guess
but-
whatever you
yeah.
disturb, right, whatever you disturb, you have to make sure you're not creating these incidental impacts on a butter. So if you're
Yeah.
gonna disturb a certain amount of soil and create a certain amount of roadway, you have to have a certain amount of infrastructure in to capture that, to place it into the detention ponds, to make its way through. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't answering it very well, but I think that, one of the conditions would probably have to be a phasing plan that indicates what aspects of the infrastructure is going to be built during each point. So they'd have to say, however many phases, this is how many homes, this is the infrastructure that would have to be built, and that would have to be part of what's a post-approval submission.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, actually, I'm gonna give that gentleman a chance. You've already spoken, but I'm gonna give you'll be next.
Okay. I promise I'll be brief. Thank you. Vin Plord, 6 Westview Drive, here in Dartmouth. I had a question. One of the prior meetings, there was some discussion about whether or not school buses would be allowed into the development. And I don't want to take us too far down a road, but I have, like Mr. Neto and many of the other residents, I have serious concerns about the amount of traffic that's going to be on Tucker Road and all the ancillary roads. And the reason why I ask that in particular is I know when the studies were presented, it wasn't quite clear where those eventually, let's say there are 500 children in that development, there are going to be buses that need to stop there. Now, whether they're going to stop on the street or actually pull into.
We did discuss that.
Okay.
The plan that was presented by the petitioner did have for the location of a bus stop. However, we've come to learn throughout this project and other projects that the school department does not allow for the placement of bus stops on private development sites.
Exactly.
So there's gonna have to be a pickup site at the roadway somewhere around Tucker Road and the opening or the main roadway to this subdivision. Now, that hasn't been, I don't think that's been amended, whatever that proposal is. I haven't seen it. And if I've misspoke, please let me know.
No, that's the understanding from the communications that your former assistant town administrator did get that information from the school department. And I believe the board was provided with those emails. And no, the plans have not been changed to reflect anything with respect to the parking, the bus stop, so it is something that would have to be addressed at a later time.
And I would just ask that be included as part of the traffic survey, study, that if those school buses from middle and elementary and high school are going to have to stop on the side of the street there, we need to factor that into the traffic delays. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name, sir.
Mark Mogazel, 14 East Green Drive. I just wanted to say one more time about the proposed emergency exit, is that, as Chuck had mentioned, that there's still signs up right now that say, please respect Fairway Drive and use it only to walk or drive your golf cart on in that loopway, and that supports what Attorney Perry had said. They're still up there. You can go and see them at any time you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, sir. Please state your name and address.
Good evening. Robert Saltzman, 966 Tucker Road. I'm another Tucker Road abutter. The last time the zoning board approved development at 970 Tucker Road, the water runoff flooded and ruined our basement. So we are worried about what the applicant's saying about what's going to happen with the new development. Not only are we a Tucker Road abutter, we're the very first driveway next to 970. We're scared of the increase in the amount of traffic on
Let me
Tucker
ask you
Road.
something. That development you're referring to as 970 Tucker Road, was that one single residential home?
No, that was the golf course. That is the country club. When they expanded, put in a driveway, put it in a parking lot, the water runoff has ruined our basement. We can't do anything down there now. That's technical. I'm now going to talk more about our concerns with traffic. Even before I heard the bus stop's going to be at the end of our driveway. We're scared of the increase in traffic on Tucker Road, let alone normal Tucker Road traffic. I mean, to getting to Route 6 now, there are backups now, sometimes as far as Friends Academy. We're so worried. 137 units could be 200 more cars, as well as buses and trucks serving that area. Our mailbox has been hit 4 times in recent years.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come up?
Diane Kilchica, 39 Bayberry Lane, North Dartmouth. A comment. May I make a comment?
Sure.
We need affordable housing in this town, but that's not the place for it. The children that live in our development have to go up to Tucker Road. It's wide open. The parents stay there in their cars. I can't even imagine in front of Bob's house, the children, that is a disaster, just like Mr. Neto said. We need it. We need housing for young people, for townspeople, but that is not the right place for it. So can't we just work together and try to find a place? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is not the end of public comment. It may be the end of public comment for tonight, but there's some other matters we got to get to, some housekeeping matters with the petitioner. So at this time, I'm going to call upon Mr. Farland. So one of the main issues we have, Mr. Farland, we sort of touched upon it earlier, is replenishment of the account so that we can continue, not just continue, but we actually owe our peer reviewers some money as we stand here today. Has he been provided with?
No, he doesn't have this chart. So I think that Mr. Haddad, your town administrator, and Michelle and Mr. Diosa are kind of working on all of this in order to make sure that the applicant has the most recent of everything. But when there was the discussions back at the beginning of the opening of the hearing in August, September, the board had voted at the September hearing about the amounts that Mr. Custon needed to deposit. And he never made the full deposit. There was a vote, and he had deposited almost $25,000 towards, in September. But then there was a requirement for an additional amount, and he deposited another $30,000, but that was still over $11,000 short of what the board had voted to require him to deposit. And I just learned when we were discussing about the reconciling of this in the past week that $11,000 was never deposited by Mr. Cusson. So the issue is that the board had only asked for 1/3 of the civil engineering to be deposited and 1/3 towards the water and sewer. So the full amounts had not even been requested. It was like, we'll do it, as needed. But it's going to be needed, and it's going to be needed before this hearing closes for good. And so what I would suggest to the board is, I know that Ms. Vieira and Mr. Haddad have been looking at this. They've been requesting that the peer reviewers provide detail bills that show exactly how they're getting to the totals that they are asking for, so that the town can review them for appropriateness as charges. It's all that, and all that detail will be provided. But it is a requirement of the regulations that the peer review payments be made. I'm not suggesting that they won't pay them. They haven't been asked yet. But as we discussed back in October, if amounts are due and they don't pay them, that's a unilateral basis.
Let me just stop you there. Have we asked them to pay
No,
this?
no, so addition, no, we haven't. But I just wanted, they weren't aware of it, I wanted the board to be aware of it, because it kind of ties into the timing, because right now, the deadline to close the hearing for good is March 26th, so I know the board needs to discuss when the next meeting will be on or before March 26th. But the board, it should not close this hearing if there are any outstanding amounts due. So we just wanted to bring it to their attention because it's just been coming to all of our attention. And just say that, what the staff, I think your town officials intend to do is put this all together, present it in writing to the applicant's team, and then give them a period of time to deposit it in advance of whatever the next hearing is going to be, so that the board will know in advance of the next hearing if there's an issue with funds. So we don't have a specific number for you tonight, because I know these are not vetted numbers yet, so this may not be the exact amount. Like saying, detail bills need to be vetted before the exact number is confirmed.
All I can say is this, and I'm not trying to threaten anybody who's coming before us or
Yep.
anything, but I'm not going to put the town in a position where we're going to have invoices for consultants that they're responsible to reimburse us for, and they're not going to reimburse us.
right.
That'll be the first reason why I would stop any project, don't matter who's coming before me, if we're not going to be footing the bill for this, all right? But if we haven't asked them to pay, I really
No,
can't.
and that's why I'm not, that's why
Okay.
I'm saying,
But you're
he
asking
was.
me, but you're asking me to ask them when we've got people in town that could have already asked for this.
No.
And why didn't they just send out an email and say, hey, you owe us X number of dollars, pay the bill?
We're just bringing it to the board's attention. So, for example, the money that the board voted to require in October was never paid. So that we're just bringing to your attention. As far as there will be a request going out,
But hold on,
we're
in
just bringing it
October,
to your
we're now in
attention.
February, and no one asked for the bill for it to be paid?
I can't speak to that,
Okay.
sir. But there was a good amount in the account, and it was covering the bill. So the bills all started coming in just recently, and it brought it to a head. We're not accusing anybody of anything, other than the fact that the $11,000 that you voted to
No, but you're
was
asking me
never
to
paid.
ask someone to pay us, and I'm being told I don't even know, we don't even know exactly how much the bill is.
No.
But when I look at this, it says pending. We got
No,
about
well,
50
that's it, I wouldn't, that number is not a final number, so I wouldn't go with that number. What I think is being asked of the board is just to be made, first of all, just to be made aware, also to let Mr. Farland know for the first time, he's hearing this again for the first time, but also to just set the expectation that it get resolved before the hearing be ended.
All right, I
So
just
that's
wanna-
it, it's
okay,
just
so
asking.
We haven't done a lot of 40Bs, but we've done
Right.
one before. We never had this problem. We would just tell them, we need X number of dollars to replenish, the money would show up.
So that's what we'll do. But
Okay.
we just want, because the only reason why I'm raising it is because there may only be one more hearing at which you might be in a condition that you have to close. And we didn't, if it becomes a problem, we don't want you to hear that for the
All right, but
first
if you have to have a
time at the
special
last
meeting on it, we could
hearing.
always put forth a
Right.
special meeting
So
just to deal with the money.
again, not to,
Okay, well,
Just a-
if I'm gonna drop the hammer on something, I just
No,
wanna make
we-
sure that we know that they've have been given an opportunity to know and be aware, have notice of what they owe, and if they didn't pay it within a reasonable time, then we've gotta
yeah,
do
so
something.
that's what the intention is. And that's what we were just, it's just updating the board.
Okay.
It wasn't to
Okay.
accuse
So maybe I
anybody of
misinterpreted,
anything.
maybe I misinterpreted what it was.
I want to know what the bills are that I've received in the past week.
Well, actually, we
Yeah,
can
we
give it to
can-
whoever it is, and they
no,
can submit it to them.
Yeah, we'll
We'll submit it, they'll
Yeah.
submit it, whatever they are.
Yeah, because we don't want to involve
Do we have a
the board
gentleman's
in that.
understanding, Mr. Farland, that if there's a bill submitted, that's gonna get paid?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't received one bill.
That's not true.
We've asked for invoices and.
To Mr. Cussin, they're going to Mr.
Where are
Cussin.
you, where are you?
They're going to Mr.
Okay, Well, if you
Cussin.
can CC everybody, Paul's on vacation right now, so I mean.
But this is from
He's
before.
gotten them in prior
In any
months.
case, Mr. Chairman, if there's a bill due, we're gonna certainly pay it. So we would like to know that, I mean,
we'll
if
try to
they
make
have
a-
bills, can you please pass it to the design team?
First of all, like, for example, if a bill comes in and it doesn't have the detail, then we're not going to pass it along because you are owed detail bills, right? Not summary bills. So that's why the staff is just trying to make sure that the bills are in the proper form. So if you just sent the bill and it says $1,000, but you have no idea what they did for
I think-
$1,000, so,
If I may, Madam.
Yep.
Any engineer is gonna have engineered hours down. They're not gonna give you a lump sum bill, especially for a project for reviewing.
well,
So
we
if
have
they
gotten
didn't
some
do
lump
that,
sum.
then we certainly do want,
Yeah, so, and we had promised,
Down of their hours.
Mr. Cussin had asked for, and he had been promised those detail breakdowns, and that's what we're making sure gets sent over to your team. Okay?
All right,
So
now the
the next
bigger
is the
issue
timing.
is the next date, and when's the final date for this?
March 26th,
March 26th.
which is a Thursday.
Which we already
Which
have.
we can't do a Thursday. I'm not gonna be around on the Thursday,
Twen-
the 26th. So we gotta pick another date.
23rd.
So, but before that, are you in a position to grant an extension for approval of this comprehensive permit? Because I don't think, we're not gonna be ready by the 23rd of March.
well, there's a few things I wanna talk about.
Okay.
You wanna crunch for time tonight, or?
Well, I always tell my board members we'd be out by 8 o'clock. It's already 8:20. How long do you think you're gonna take?
Well, I think, number one, I wanna address the butters' concerns with, especially with density.
I'm not overly concerned about that tonight. We can address that another night.
But I mean, how long are we gonna keep going on? How about all the waivers? Can we go over the waivers tonight?
No, I'm not prepared to go over the waivers tonight.
And, this is something that, we just got today, too. And I do want to make a comment, Attorney Murphy, started out with, we have 111 waivers. That's not true. There's 111 Excel numbers on here, 30 of which of these aren't waivers. We're saying we are doing them.
Yeah.
Post-approval. And I'm a very laid-back engineer. I very rarely will raise my voice, but I'll have to say it's very insulting that the attorney is saying these plans are not even preliminary drawings. These are very extensive drawings, probably 85-90% drawings, that the applicant has spent a significant amount of money on. And certainly my firm is on this plan. So for someone to disrespect my company, saying these are less than preliminary plans, is pretty insulting. not to my company, but to me, myself, because I did prepare these plans along with my team members. Section 2 of the planning board regulations, preliminary plans, there's about 5 things you need to do for that. That's pretty much that first set of drawings I came in with. That's preliminary. So the applicant has spent a significant amount of money on engineering on these plans, and they are by far beyond requirements for a 40B project and beyond preliminary plans. So I just wanted to get that across the table, because I don't like, to be insulted
listen,
like that.
I heard that. I already said it 3 times. I got it the first time, number 1. Number 2.
That's not what I
What it
said.
costs, what your client has paid and spent a lot of money, that's irrelevant to me. This is a big boys' game. If they can't play it, they shouldn't play it, whoever they are, okay? So that doesn't persuade me. But let me just say, I'll let you continue with your points, but I just wanted you to think so that you understand that what you're trying to tell me or tell this board is not persuading me in that respect. And it may be a difference of opinion. She has her opinion as to what the percentage is that's completed. You have your opinion as to what's completed. We probably could get 3 or 4 different
Right.
engineers in here, and they all have different interpretations of what that is. Regardless of what it is, it's not complete, all right? 80%, 90%, it's still not complete. There are a lot of things that haven't been spoken of. There are a lot of things that still haven't been addressed. And that's why I think that we need to extend the time in order to do this. These people are gonna be impacted by this for the rest of their lives, or as long as they continue to live in that area. It's gonna be beyond them. I'm gonna be impacted. Anybody that drives along Tucker Road is gonna be impacted by this. So we all have concerns. And I don't know, if you just tell me now, do you have the authority to agree to continue it beyond the March 26th date?
Not right now, no.
You don't. Okay, so we're gonna have to set up for a shorter date, and we're gonna ask for continuance, and if a continuance is not granted, then we're gonna make a decision there and then. And then maybe these people get what they want, they think they're gonna get what they want at the next hearing date, but the bigger picture is, then all of these conditions that we're able to impose on the project, they go out the window. They go completely out the window, and then you guys get to build what you wanna build, your people get to build what they wanna build, without any input from any of us. So, we all have to think about exactly what it is that we really want in this.
Yep. So,
I will, sorry.
do you mind if I respond? I would
Go ahead.
appreciate it. First of all, I respect what engineers do. I've been doing this for over 30 years. I work with engineers all the time. So it wasn't meant as a personal attack, and I apologize if that's the way you received it. I was not saying as a whole. There were just certain details. So, so for example, like boundary line dimensions, like how much frontage for each lot. So that's all I meant, and I did say it in a sweeping way.
You did
and
say that.
I did say it in a sweeping way.
Just so you know, the frontage and areas are on the plan.
I said it in a sweeping way, and it was not intended as an insult to you. I have never insulted an engineer in my 30 years of practice, and I apologize if the way I expressed it came across that way, because I would never do that, particularly in a public setting like this. So I want to apologize for that. So, Mr. Chair, once you close the hearing, whatever that date is, you then have 40 days to issue the decision. The risk at that point really shifts to the applicant. If the board has to close the hearing and you haven't had a chance to get the applicant's responses to the waivers or to talk through conditions, right? Then the board will be sitting here deciding the waivers and deciding the conditions, and the applicant will not be able to participate in that conversation. So I really would say, when you speak to your client, Mr. Farland, that's the risk that they're running if the board sets a date. It sounds like it'll have to be before March 26th, and there's not enough time to get your responses on the waivers or for your team to talk back and forth. So I just wanted to explain kind of if,
So they have an interest
what
in
the
making
timing
sure
is.
that they work with us on this as well. I think that's what you're
Right,
trying to say.
yes, I'm trying to say it's in their interest to maybe kind of
All right.
work with the board on the timing.
And I would have expected that, but he doesn't have the authority to grant it, which I respect that as well. He's
Yep.
being honest. He says he doesn't have the
Yep.
authority to do it. So now we have a decision to make, and that is, when is the next date, so we can have the petitioner who has authority to make that decision, either make the decision that works with us, and if it doesn't, then we've got to decide how we're going to handle it. And if I'm wrong, somebody interrupt me.
Right.
What do you wanna
No,
say?
I want to say, what is it that we need to discuss before we can render a decision? I think the traffic is, we put a bet, it's done.
Well,
right?
there are a
No, no,
couple,
I mean,
there's
I
still a couple
understand.
comments.
The storm, I mean, we can drag the 2 comments for another 6 months, but I mean, are we in a position, we have a traffic consultant, we hired a traffic peer review, and they worked out, is there any issues with the traffic?
There are recommendations for conditions
Yeah,
that you
recommendation will
have.
be in the conditions.
Right.
Stormwater, I understand what you're saying, because this is a 40B, you don't have to show the type of, the level of details that you would show on other projects. Does the peer reviewer agrees with you that we are 60, 70, or 80%? Okay. How about civil? Same? So what else do we have? I guess, if,
So from a making a decision standpoint, what you went through tonight was mainly your staff peer review recommendations on the waivers. Mr. Farrell may have some kind of responses. I want to discuss some of them. There are a few, like we said, highlighted in yellow that are still kind of questions out there. So that would just have to get sorted out. And then the other thing, which has started but has not been fully put together, is taking the recommendations for traffic conditions or the civil conditions or different notes that the board has been taking or asked me to take during here, and putting all of those conditions into one document and giving them to the board, giving them to the applicant team, and having a meeting then like tonight where you walk through them. But the question whether you can do all of that at the next meeting and close the meeting, that's your timing question.
I don't think so.
Whether that can all happen. And I don't know, it's up to the.
We all have
board
jobs
and-
as well. There's
I
so much reading
understand,
material. I spent
Mike,
most of
but-
the week at night reading this material, so I know, I can understand how this is gonna impact us as a community. So there's a lot that needs to happen. So here's what I suggest. I suggest we give it a short date so that they can come back, tell us whether or not they're willing to give us an extension. If they're not, then we can decide whether or not we're gonna open up for additional public comment for whatever short period of time that may be, and then either decide we're gonna vote one way or another, or we close the meeting and then handle it in accordance with what she says. We'll have 40 days thereafter. They won't have any input into what it is that we're gonna be. So if there's gonna be any issue with regard to a condition, and it could go one way or the other, it's gonna go in this direction and not that direction. Because if they don't have any input,
and they can always appeal to
and
the,
I'm not raising my voice at you.
Right.
I'm
No,
just
I-
expressing
I get
where,
it.
sort of thinking out loud as to what's gonna happen. I don't do this every day, all right? I don't wanna do this every day. But, there's gonna be 2 more after this that we're gonna be dealing with, and we're dealing with them already.
Yep.
But this one this one got out of the gates a lot quicker, and it's getting further along.
it started first.
And it's getting serious at this point. It's getting closer to the end, and I get that. But, again, what do we have for available dates? Because it's already 8:30.
We have Monday, March 2nd.
So what else? We don't have a 40B on Monday, March 2nd?
No, you do.
All right, we already have I'm not gonna put 2.
On the 16th, we have Sherbrooke.
No, what about the after March 2nd, the Monday after? So that's what, the 9th?
Ninth?
Select board has the meeting room. So we have to work it out.
What about the Tuesday, the 10th?
Attorney
Oh,
Yuma?
I'm not around then. I can't do that. I can't do the 9th. can't do
No,
the
I'm
10th.
not available on the
Mondays
10th.
and Thursdays are our best days. So then we have the 23rd,
23rd of March,
23rd of March.
Wow,
that's a Monday.
that's a
That's a
close.
Monday, and then we close with them on the 26th.
All right, so it's March 23rd.
That's the next meeting? Yes.
Hold on, I'm just gonna,
Wait, I think-
are you available that day? Well, you think it's too close to the
Is
26th?
Attorney Yuma available?
Yes, he'll be available.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Yes, because we can't have another meeting without him. All right, so March 23rd at 6 o'clock.
Before we close, Mr. Chair, can I say a couple more things?
Sure.
I applaud the other town departments for, reviewing all these waiver requests. Certainly went through a lot of time, and I think they, from all the other cities and towns I work in, I think they certainly went above and beyond to try to get this done in a timely manner. Out of all these waivers, I probably only have issues with less than 5, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay?
I did
Just so you
expect
know.
it, none of them looked really heavy anyway.
So there's not much. And the ones that are yellow, I'm sure we could address by next week. Just to give you a timeframe idea. They've been great to work with. I understand the sewer and water comment, so I think we can address them pretty
And we'll
easily.
get the bill out sometime next week, so that there'll be a payment shortly thereafter, so we can feel a lot more in the comfort zone.
Christian, I'll send you the bills that I recently received.
That'd be great. And then lastly, if the attorneys can work together before March 23rd to come up with some draft conditions.
Yep.
I think that meeting on the 23rd will be very productive. And if it is productive, I think the applicant would have no problem giving an extension just to finalize that, because we want to make sure it's right. We want to make sure it's right. I'm sure the board does.
That's a fair position.
So I think that's where I stand with my experience.
Okay.
So then basically what it would be me taking all of, like I said, everything that's come in from all the different consultants, the notes from the meeting, and trying to consolidate them in a document. And then, let's see, March 23rd, so how many, today's the 12th, so Monday, so, okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, it's a good amount of time. So, the goal would be to try to get that, and obviously it would be a giant draft, because the board, giant draft mark on it, because the board will not have reviewed it, so I can't speak for the board, but try to get that, something to you, if we can get it at least 10 days in advance, it's just gonna be a lot of collecting all the information, running it by the staff, et cetera. But we'll try, that's a good amount of time to do it.
That would be
So I
great.
think we can get it to you in advance, so that you're not getting it like tonight. We got your your updated list about a week ago, and we tried to get it out sooner this week, but, sorry about the,
Believe me, I get it.
yep.
All right. All right, we can move it along?
We can move it along.
23rd.
Do the 23rd.
So
I'll
we
entertain
need-
a motion.
I make a motion that we continue comprehensive permit ZCMP 25-1 to March 23rd at 6 o'clock.
Given that we only have 2 members, I'll second the motion.
And all in favor?
All in favor? Aye and aye. All right. So folks, we'll see you on March 23rd. Hopefully, we'll have less snow and it'll be much warmer. All right, so we're going to table all the rest of the administrative matters to the next hearing. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.